Good evening. If I could have everyone's attention, please. It is 6 o'clock on November 10th, and this is our regularly scheduled Dunwoody City Council meeting. Councilman Lambert, can you lead us in the invocation and the pledge, please?
Please rise as you're able. At this meeting, help us to make decisions which keep us faithful to our mission and reflect our values. Give us strength to hold to our purpose, wisdom to guide us, and a keen perception to lead us. And above all, keep us charitable as we deliberate. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chief Carlson and Officer Hernandez.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. So we just ended our 17th Citizens Police Academy here in Dunwoody. It was a great class. As I stated last time, we did go up to now 13 full classes where the graduation is the 14th. It's a great program. We do everything from going through community outreach, the Real-Time Crime Center, the STEP program, peer support. We added the co-responder that comes in and also did a presentation this time as well. The craze event, narcotics, we did a patrol class, CID, crime scene gangs, chatcom. Also part of this class, a big part is them learning what use of force is, and they do go through a whole program for that. They go through a firearms stimulator training where they can actually utilize our system that we do have over at the annex, same program that the officers do use. So the whole point of the class is for the citizens of Dunwoody to have the chance to come in and they can learn a little bit about what the police officers do on a day-to-day basis. They get to meet different officers, from regular officers up to the chief, and they can ask questions, they get to know us, which is great. At the last class that we had, which was last week, we have the traffic stops, and the traffic stop night, as many of you guys who've been in the class know. And have you guys all taken the class at this point? All right, well, the ones that have not, we have another class starting on February 3rd, and you can have a great time, and everyone else here, same thing. So we have next class is February 3rd. We are going to be opening up the new applications probably next week. So yes, it's great. Again, last night with a traffic stop night, we do, everything kind of comes together, and we do mock traffic stops where we put all the citizens that have taken the class in a position where they are acting as an officer and they get to see what it really feels like to be an officer. But yeah, it's a great class. If I can have Dave Cote come up, he can actually explain from a student's perspective how he felt about the class.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Yes, on behalf of the 17th graduating class, you said, I'd just like to spend a couple of minutes on I speak on behalf of the class and myself when I say, I don't think any of us knew what to expect. You know, anytime you start a course, you're never sure what the contents of the course is going to be or how interesting it was going to be. I will admit that not only did we listen, it was pretty riveting from one session to the next, to the next, to the next. You know, we always see our police, the general public sees police, they see them around town, they see them, but they don't know them. There's also, they don't know what policing is. And I think what this course teaches you, other than the fact that you get to know our police people as human beings and as people, also what it is they have to go through in the scenarios that they have to play through in their heads as they do this on an everyday basis. And until you go through a course like this, I don't think there's any way that you can appreciate what these ladies and gentlemen go through on a daily basis. So one thing I will say, we have one heck of a police department. To Mike, Deputy Chief Fladrich, people like Officer Hernandez and Alexander, but the entire staff who also gave up a lot of their time to spend that time with us and to give us some insights as to what their responsibilities were and what specifics they were involved in teaching us. So I think I'm grateful. I am the last bailiff, by the way, to qualify for this class. So I've only been here 11.5 years, so it took me a long time to catch up. But anyway, we greatly appreciate this opportunity. We appreciate the fact that Chief Carlson supports this wholeheartedly, that you as a city council and the mayor also support this. I think it's a very valuable tool and will assist not only the city, but the police department in particular in getting the word out that, you know, these kinds of, we're people, we're doing our jobs, we're doing it to the best of our ability. And now I understand why our police have such a high rating when you do the polling. So that's all I want to say. Okay.
Thank you.
If we can have the rest of the class come up and we'll take a quick photo. Everybody's do this way, it's a little long. Yeah. Did I do that? All right. Everybody look up. 1, 2, 3.
I want to thank Officer Hernandez, and now her partner, Officer Alexandra. I knew that. Just give me a minute. But also the students who took this class. This is no simple undertaking. And I know that you add so much value to our community, because you can communicate how fantastic our police department is, but just as we just heard what policing is, I think sometimes there's a misunderstanding of how policing works and what it really is. And actually, from my perspective, how much our officers in the field are responsible for. And so thank the two of you and everyone who supported you. And thank you all the students who enrolled. And maybe I'll try to do it in February. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Be looking. Okay. Next up is our city managers. No public comments. I'm doing it. All right. I have public comment cards. And they are in the back of the room on what looks like a music stand. If you want to fill one out, if you're here for a rezoning, there is also a public comment during rezonings. Matthew Wagner, approach. Introduce yourself, please, and you'll have 3 minutes, sir.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, honorable city council members. I'm Matt Wagner, resident of Dunwoody in the Kingsley neighborhood. I didn't come to raise any cane tonight. Actually just came to voice my support for the city's plans to make Dunwoody more walkable, bikeable, and runnable. I'm referring specifically to discussion items 18, 19, and 21 through 23 on the agenda this evening. I co-lead Active Dunwoody, which is an online community of Dunwoody residents and nearby neighbors that believe and practice wellness and community through physical activity throughout the city. Our Facebook group has reached more than 3,300 members, and our most recent event, which was a scavenger hunt, which was planned and organized in collaboration with Discover Dunwoody. We had about 100 people from inside and outside Dunwoody attend that back in September. Dunwoodians love to stay active. If you drive around this city on the weekend, you can see lots of folks running, walking, cycling, pushing strollers. And we have, of course, every manner of fitness center, yoga studio, CrossFit gym, exercise related social group. I've personally walked, run, and cycled every inch of this city since moving here in the last 6 years ago. I've also done so in our neighboring cities like Sandy Springs, Norcross, Peachtree Corners, Chamblee, Brookhaven. These cities also have thriving active communities, but one thing that they have more of that we don't have yet is a cohesive network of trails and paths that allow citizens to safely access the centers of the community life without a car. We're getting there. We're not there yet. I don't hate cars. I drove one here, but our city's nodes of activity are so congested and clogged with vehicle traffic, and pedestrian and bicycle travel is pretty unsafe because people and bikes are forced to share the same narrow strip of asphalt and concrete with cars and drivers who are sometimes on their phones. I know that the reasons that we don't have this cohesive network yet is not for lacking trying on the part of this assembly, because this council has publicly demonstrated a steady march toward that kind of pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure along with its comprehensive master plan. And I also know that citizens want this kind of infrastructure. Otherwise, that we wouldn't keep electing the same people who have publicly came out and are striving to make this a reality. But the truth is we know there are practical challenges as well as some ideological ones. Nevertheless, I have great confidence in this body to get the job done. And so I urge you, the city council, to keep pressing on. Don't get discouraged by those who are stuck in the past, who don't share your vision of the future, and you're on the right path. Pun very much intended. Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine, I don't know if it's an S, a U, or an A, Sunloff. Approach the microphone, introduce yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening. I am Catherine Sunloff, and I live in the Fontainebleau neighborhood off of Winners Chapel Road. So part of why I'm here tonight is to speak kind of what he was previously speaking about in terms of the path. So I'd like to thank the City Council and the Mayor for their efforts to make Dunwoody more pedestrian friendly. As a new and currently very sleep-deprived mom, this initiative means so much to me and my family. We came from the DC area, so we walked and biked everywhere, and it was so nice to have that access. And that was before we even have kids. But now with a child and having to load him in the car and having long car rides when he's grumpy and you can't console them, it really makes walkability even more important to me now. Access to paths and bike paths, or bike paths and walkability, greatly reduces the likelihood of childhood obesity. It reduces the amount of time that children are on screens. It removes isolation. It promotes autonomy and freedom in children, which also gives more free time to the parents. And it also just greatly increases like the well-being and happiness, just because they have a lot more freedom in what they can do. Currently, the way that Dunwoody is laid out, it's obviously very suburban. So that isolation, you have to pretty much drive anywhere because our paths aren't fully connected yet. And I think that will be a great benefit if we can connect our paths, and especially the Winners Chapel path. To not complete that path, it really goes to nowhere right now. And it's great because it makes a safer area on Winners Chapel to walk on for a little bit. But then you're going back onto like a very narrow sidewalk to get to area like the Walmart shopping center and to get to places like Windward Hollow Park. So improving that, I think, would really benefit the neighborhoods and families around that area. The current sidewalk infrastructure, like I said, is far too narrow, especially on highly trafficked roads. Winners Chapel has a pretty high speed limit. And so walking with a stroller and a dog, or if you have a child walking with you who can't walk straight yet, it's pretty anxiety inducing. So these paths will benefit and better connect the community. It'll make us more active. It'll bring us outside. And I think it will benefit Dunwoody or make Dunwoody even more family friendly as time goes on. So I'd love to be able to bike around the city with my son before he becomes an awkward teenager who wants, you can hear him now, who wants nothing to do with me anymore. So thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you. Richard Ellen, you'll have 3 minutes. When you get to the microphone, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. My name is Richard Ellen. I live in the Heathwood subdivision just off Chamblee, Dunwoody. And first I'd like to say this is Veterans Day. I would like to thank Councilman Seconder and any of you others who have served our country. Thank you for your service. I will not belabor this. I'm here to say I completely agree with what Matthew and Catherine just said. I've been cycling for about 30 years now, in part just for exercise, but in part to get places. I cycled to work when I was working full-time for many years. And one of my most common paths is to go down Mount Vernon. And unfortunately, over the last 10 years or so, I have become gradually more leery about riding Mount Vernon. Even more important, my wife has become more leery about me riding on Mount Vernon. Part of that has to do with distracted driving. Part of that has to do with speeding, which I'm sure everybody in here is familiar with. And so when I now have to go places, one of the places I frequent is the Orchard Park Shopping Center. For me to go there, instead of riding up Chamblee Dunwoody and then down Mount Vernon, I go down to Peeler. I cut past Brook Run Park over to North Peachtree, and I go up North Peachtree. It's a longer ride, it's a hillier ride, but I feel it's a much safer ride. So I would very much love to see additional facilities, especially for me, the Mount Vernon path, but all of the options that are on the table. And I thank you for what you've done so far in supporting these facilities.
Thank you. Bona Allen, approach the microphone, sir, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing us to give you our comments. My name is Bona Allen. I first moved to Dunwoody in 1969, so I've been here a while. And I was barely born. I was hardly, I was very young. But went through the Dunwoody High School or Dunwoody school system and DeKalb County and all that. Since then, I moved to college, was away a few years, came back, and I was gone a couple of years in the late 90s, but pretty much since 1969, I've been in Dunwoody. And it's been exciting to see all the changes, right? When Dunwoody High School was built, and I remember Mr. Sproul using his mule to farm the field over there that then ultimately became Dunwoody Village. And so the point here is I'm going to make 2 points. One is, I think Dunwoody looks to the future. Dunwoody has always looked to the future, even before we became a city. And so I want to thank you all for continuing that process, and thank you to previous mayors and councils for looking to the future to make our community better. And a key piece of that are these paths. I guess I could have just stood up here and said, ditto, I'm done. But yeah, I mean, I'm part of the past, right? Growing up here been here since the 60s. But I love the direction the community is going. I love the leadership you guys are providing to this community. So that's point one, is thank you, a message of gratitude. Point two is don't stop. Don't stop, keep going. I know, as Matthew said a minute ago, there are these initiatives that you're considering and will ultimately vote on. I urge you to vote positive, to keep going, keep bringing these paths to Dunwoody, bring the connectedness here and beyond Dunwoody. Thank you.
Thank you. Rose Persky. Approach the microphone, ma'am, and you'll have 3 minutes. Oh, and introduce yourself. I forgot to say that.
Hello, my name is Rose Persky. I've lived in Dunwoody since 2006, and I have seen a lot of great changes for Dunwoody from when I first came here. Sidewalks have been a very important part of my family. When I first moved on Tilly Mill Road, we had no sidewalks. Your group has been instrumental in making sidewalks part of our family. It has been amazing. I came from a small town. There were no sidewalks. To even have a sidewalk was like a dream come true for me, coming from a small town. As a business owner and one who volunteers who supports seniors, people with mobility challenges and individuals with disabilities, I see every day how essential these trails are. These help people live productive, independent lives, providing to have exercise and mental wellness and meaningful connection to our community. I have a brother with autism, and I know how important people like him, like my brother, it's how important it is to have access to space to be able to walk, decompress, engage with the world around them. These trails provide them with freedom. Not everyone drives. Without connected paths like these, many residents simply wouldn't have access to the outdoors or be nearby. These areas, these projects make inclusion possible. Right now, we're facing an aging crisis. We have more seniors than we ever have. These people are not always going to be able to drive. They need to have these parks, these sidewalks to be able to get around, be with each other, be social, now more than ever. My husband and son use these trails regularly. As a family, we've been very grateful to the city's investment in making Dunwoody a safer and more walkable place. My son is a Boy Scout. He's here tonight with another Boy Scout from Troop 477. Can you both please rise? All right. They're here tonight to get their Eagle Scout Communications Merit Badge. And I wanted them to see firsthand, me and their father, to see firsthand how community engagement works and how public input helps shape the kind of city that we want to live in. I want to thank you for your leadership and helping create safe connection and including spaces for everyone in Dunwoody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ali, I think I saw you earlier. Okay. Approach the microphone, sir, and you'll introduce yourself and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Before I start, I would, of course, would be remiss if I didn't stop in celebration of the holiday and thank everyone who is part of the board as well as part of the audience. I believe our own chief is a veteran as well. So I just want to thank all of you for all the time you've served. I appreciate that. I know the rest of us do as well. To move on, I know that there's a large group of people here for Raising Cane's. If they could pull up their signs maybe to see. Yeah, so exactly. You want to get Georgians excited, it's football and fried chicken. But ultimately, I'm kind of disappointed to be talking about it again. I've mentioned it multiple times, kind of the Raising Cane's, and I understand there's a process and a procedure. We can't just like, flick our hands and get something done. There's different things, different zonings, different things that we don't understand as an audience that needs to be done to make sure it's done properly. But ultimately, I am raising I guess a comment in favor of the approval for the Raising Cane's, but also taking a step back, a little disappointed at kind of the timing of it. I think there's a building that's being built on the cross section of 285 and Ashford Dunwoody Road. There's a brand new construction going up there for something. If I'm not mistaken, I believe the conversation around that exact thing happened like during COVID. So when I saw it go up the other day, like a month ago, I was like, wow, this is taking way too long for something that seemingly should have been easy. And unfortunately, I must say the same about the Raising Cane's as well. It seemed like something that a lot of people were generally in favor of. Seems like it's taken a long time. Again, there are things that I don't know. There are things that I don't understand. There's certain things and different aspects that have to be reviewed, approved, and done via city government that of course could cause natural delays to make sure it's done right. But my concern is that we might start becoming a little difficult to do business with, and that's not healthy for Dunwoody. So I would hope that we can maybe kind of look at maybe how this one worked out in the other case and see if there is something we can do to be a little bit more business friendly, to kind of accelerate some of these things for things that generally don't have much of opposition. I do kind of blame a little bit, I think, of the Board of Zoning Planning. It does seem, unfortunately, more and more that these things will go to them for a recommendation and they will just kind of yo-yo it back and forth versus actually being decisive, asking the right questions, and just kind of moving forward aggressively with a decision. It just seems like a lot of times they just bounce things back and punt things back. And I think that's unfortunately a lot of what has been delayed. So I know this is coming up for approval now, and for people who don't know, prior to it coming to City Council, it goes to that board to review things, to make a recommendation, and that board has unfortunately taken way too long to put it in front of City Council, and I think that's kind of the problem. So I politely asked that City Council review maybe a little bit more with what they are doing and see if they can accelerate the process, so by the time it gets to you, it could be a little bit more streamlined. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt, I think it's Munez, but I could be wrong. If you'll just approach the microphone, sir, you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Evening, everyone. My name is Matt Munoz. I'm the general manager of the Le Meridian. I thought the Raising Cane's issue was kind of in the rear view, so I apologize for taking up more time. Just wanted to make sure everyone remembers some of the primary concerns that we had discussed in the 4 or so meetings that we've been to already. And no better way to share that than maybe a story of just me trying to get here, which was My shuttle van is in my driveway and there are 3 cars arriving of guests. I've got to stop telling you how many guests we do. It has been pointed out to me, but it's a lot. We're a 275 room hotel, north of 60,000 room nights. And so just with those 3 cars, I had to go out and direct some traffic before I could make my way into the van to come to this meeting. And so what that would look like when again, I've got a roundabout. If you're not very familiar with my hotel, it looks like every one of the guests from a third of the Raising Cane's going through the front of my hotel. So as a lot of residents talk about safety and walkability, again, it doesn't impact any other neighbor the same way. Maybe the street is impacted the same way, but it goes directly. I have a smoking area. To be the right distance away, you have to walk through that, and it's going to turn into a street, and it really isn't. It's a loading and unloading area for guests to arrive. One of the 2 premier Marriotts in Dunwoody, the only in Dunwoody. I'm sorry, the other our competitors in Sandy Springs, and so I just love for that to be on the record that there really isn't an opportunity to add more congestion there, and that concern has not been assuaged. And I would be open to any business, bringing a valid fix to that problem, so that way my customers can be safe, my insurance costs can stay low, so people can continue to do business with us. And I think that it's important this group recognizes that those guests, they vote with their wallet tremendously, like they never have before. There's a lot of options in the market. There's plenty of new places to go. And so adding that congestion would really impact our business and the 103 people that I employ, and I want to employ more if I could. And I think this might slowly take us the other direction, and I prefer not to go that route. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'm gonna get this name wrong. I'm sorry. I can't quite make out some of the letters in the first name, but it's Miss Diaba, I think. This is your card. Oh, here she comes. Thank you. If you'll just introduce yourself. Appreciate that. Sorry. And you'll have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
My name is Nadezhda Dadiela. I live in Dunwoody since 2009. I walked here. So I'm here to talk about walking, biking. I live right across the street. And as part of the active Dunwoody community, thank you. I really enjoy the local sidewalks, biking. I'm cyclist. I bike on Mount Vernon often, safely so far, mostly. I've been hit once in another area. And I really wanted to express how important it is for people of Dunwoody to have this ability to bike and walk on shorter distances. Also to have probably connectivity to the areas where we can open Marta Station using Mount Vernon commute. That little patch on Winter Chapel, I use it all the time. Thank you. I really bike there quite frequently. So the walkability of Dunwoody is really important, what I wanted to highlight, and thank you for investing the effort into it. But another thing I wanted to really highlight, we didn't quite talk about here while we are approaching the walkability and biking, is keeping Dunwoody away from industrial looks and more towards people-centered design, including probably keeping our trees. I am asking whenever you are approaching biking and walking, keep the trees, please. It's a side note mostly. But maybe someday we will be able to connect from Dunwoody directly from Mount Vernon, somewhere towards Beltline, towards Atlanta and Piedmont Park. Thank you for all you do. Please continue doing that with this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that concludes the cards I have for this segment of public comment. We will have another segment at the end of the meeting. With that, it is time for the city manager's report. Eric.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Under the Parks Department, we have tomorrow we have our unveiling of our Veterans Memorial. Please join us at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning for a Veterans Day ceremony, as well as the unveiling of the new memorial. For those of y'all who have not been out there, it's located at Brook Run Park, and it's a very nice redo of the original memorial, and it shows a lot for the community to take a look at. We had our first adaptive parents night out on October the 25th. We had 18 families there for a night of games, pizza and crafts. On the 13th, we have our holiday family photos at North Shallowford Annex. December 1st opens the Letters for Seniors and Letters to Santa program. Will begin then. And also we have our holiday lights opening on December the 2nd. Within your report shows a Georgetown Park sculpture that was approved by the Dunwoody Arts Commission. And that features 3 arbor benches wrapped in forged flowers and vines. Details are scheduled to be installed before the end of the year. So take a look at that when you have time. Also, we had our Groovin' on the Green grand finale, or green finale as we call it. We had 3,000 guests at Brook Run Park. The truck or treat welcomed 3,300 trick-or-treaters. And we had about 16 sponsors there. That was a phenomenal event here. Again, the weather was great. We had a large turnout there with many kids to get candy and meet the police and elected officials and everybody else. So it's a great event. We have upcoming classes in the police department. Our events, we have December 2nd from 5 to 7, Christmas for Kids, a wrap-up event right here at City Hall. There's a registration link within your report. Also December 8th from 8 to 10, coffee with a cop at Crema Espresso Gourmet in Dunwoody. Looking at the workload and activities that you'll see throughout the report, some of the things that we have here in Dunwoody and a lot of communities, but shoplifting, auto theft, DUI within that report. And you have the full crime stat sheet with a link at the very end of the police department report. Public Works, some neat pictures in here with Kellogg Springs Drive stream stabilization projects completed. And also construction began for the old Springhouse Path. That's pretty aggressive construction if you take a look at it. A lot of work going on in those areas. Dunwoody Nature Center wetlands restoration ribbon cutting was today. So very nice event out there. We braved the cold to get out there early this morning and cut the ribbon there. Also, crosswalk improvements are completed on Shamley Dunwoody Road at Kings Down Road and on Peeler Road at Charing Drive. And the maintenance crews completed 47 stormwater asphalt and concrete repairs within the past month. Also want to point out today that one of our employees, Cody Dallas, received the GOAT Award, which is the greatest of all time for Dunwoody. There's a GOAT that goes along with that. That's an internal award that we have. And Cody had actually helped a citizen retrieve their cell phone. They had dropped down in a storm drain. I think she crawled about 100 feet through a 30-inch culvert to get that phone, and she retrieved that for them. So thank you, Cody, and congratulations on the GOAT Award. Also under communications, we have been designed and mailed out the brochure for the Holiday HQ. So that's, and there's actually a diagram or picture within your report showing that. We have our Great Dunwoody Cleanup press release on the website, and social media is going out. We had a recognition of Dunwoody 101 graduates on October the 27th at the City Council meeting. And also at the Youth City Council, Mayor Deutsch was the guest speaker there. So quite a lot are going on within that department. We have our Inside Dunwoody newsletter, which previewed the Dunwoody Holiday Headquarters. So if you're not subscribed to these newsletters, please do. We try to keep everybody informed of what's going on within the city through our communications department. Moving on into community development, living spaces, furniture store, construction on Ravinia Parkway is continuing. That's a very visible project. We're looking forward to that opening. Also, we have, I think I mentioned, we did our budget October the 27th. That was approved. The mayor and city manager's proposed operating and capital budget was approved by the city council at the last meeting. Also have the third quarter ARPA report was submitted to the U.S. Treasury Department by October 31st deadline. We met that deadline. And then we also have our August 25th monthly financial update was published on the financial webpage, and along with the CARES and ARPA web pages have all been updated within the finance department. We had today our audit committee meeting today. It was at 3:30. We had our internal auditor come in and brief the committee on his progress on doing our audits. And that is for those who don't know, the city many years ago set up an audit committee to look at internal processes that the city does. And we have a committee and an internal auditor that looks at both of those things on a quarterly basis. hosting for economic development. We're hosting a joint meeting with City Council, Development Authority, Planning Commission, and Art Commission to discuss recommendations for the Urban Land Institute and for the Dunwoody Village Commercial District. It's an ongoing project there. They also conducted 18 business retention meetings and 15 business recruitment meetings. So we just want to be sure we keep up with keeping these offices full and keeping Dunwoody on the radar within the state economic development arena. Ginger LePage received her local government chief information officer certification from University of Georgia's Carl Vinson Institute. And also Jordan White received his public technology Institute certified government chief information officer certification from the University of Georgia's Carl Vinson Institute. So congratulations to the two of them. And also Ginger spoke at the Women in Technology event in the past month. We have a municipal court, which once again meets right here in this room on a weekly basis. We disposed of 552 cases and reset 30 cases. We did finish our amnesty period for this year. We had 52 cases heard, and those were failure to appears. 21 cases involved warrants that were cleared. We collected about just under $14,000 from that. And just so everybody knows, those are cases people should have shown up for court and they did not. We offer a period of time where they can come in, clear the cases out without getting arrested in another jurisdiction because they have a warrant out for their arrest. So this does provide a great service to the community to come in and clear those up penalty-free, less the original fine that they owe. The city filled one public safety ambassador position, and we're also currently recruiting for 19 positions that were brought in-house. 12 were approved by the council, converted from consulting positions to city positions. And as I said, that it's not the city expanding the scope, it's just we're onboarding the people from a consulting role to a city position, which usually saves the city money to do that now that we've grown in our 16 plus years of service. Anyway, that concludes the report. If anyone has any questions, I'd be glad to answer those.
Catherine.
Thank you, Eric. Public safety officers, do we budget for 4?
Oh, Chief, you want to come up on the public safety?
Yeah, I'd just like the update on where we are in public safety ambassadors and then also sworn officers.
Right now, public safety ambassadors, we have 3 of the 4 positions filled.
Okay.
Right now, if the police department is fully staffed, we're at 68. Currently, right now, we are at 64 with 2 with conditional offers. I have 2 more background processes. So once that gets complete and they get through medical and psychological, then we'll be at 66.
And how many? So 68 is the goal?
Yes,
Is that what you're saying?
That's,
Okay.
that's what we're allotted.
Okay, thank you.
And one thing I'll point out too, on the ambassador, one of the ambassadors was converted to a police officer. And so that's why we have 3 instead of 4. So that's kind of the goal of the ambassadors was for anybody who wants to kind of get a taste of policing, this person was certified and we did bring them on board as a full officer.
That's correct.
Anybody else? So I just wanted to point out that Ginger LePage, who's our IT director, also spoke at a joint conference of mayors and county commissioners. She gave a presentation about AI that was very, very well received. Anybody else? Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor, moving to the public hearings, item number 3 is an ordinance to allow a drive-through restaurant at lot parcel number 18-349-05002 in consideration of a special land use permit case SLUP 25-02 located at 125 Perimeter Center West, Dunwoody, Georgia 30338.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. You were promised Madeline Smith, but she came in this morning without a voice. So I'm glad to see you all tonight and take that over from her. First case tonight is Raising Cane's request a special land use permit for a drive-through on Ashford Dunwoody Road. It's the location of the old Wells Fargo, right next to the McDonald's on Ashford Dunwoody Road. As you've heard, it's in front of the Le Meridian from Ashford Dunwoody Road. Existing building is a 15,000 square foot, 2-story bank building that includes a drive-through. The drive-through is not grandfathered in because it was abandoned for a period of time. The site has direct access from Ashford Dunwoody Road. Currently, that's a full access on Ashford Dunwoody Road, and has access through easements north through the North Italia restaurant towards the signalized intersection there leading to the terraces, and then to the south towards Perimeter Center West through the Le Meridian lot. The opening up front on Ashford Dunwoody Road does not meet the current access management standards. It is too close to the adjacent curb cut on the McDonald's curb cut. It's supposed to be 245 feet, but it is 85 feet. In fact, and I'll get to that in a moment in the presentation. You all have seen this case before as a rezoning and have rezoned it to PC1, have rezoned the parcel to PC1, which allows for a restaurant use, however, not for a drive-through. That one went back to the Planning Commission and is now coming to you all. So again, like to quickly summarize, what's in front of you all today is the request for a drive-through. The restaurant use is already permitted. This chart shows the proposed site plan. Proposal is for a 2,900 square foot restaurant with a double drive-through behind the building. The building is pulled forward towards Ashford Dunwoody Road. And then immediately north to the building, you see a patio, a sitting area, outdoor sitting area there that I'll show that in a moment is sort of architecturally integrated into the building. The applicant proposes 29 parking spaces to serve the restaurant in addition to the drive-through lanes. As a zoning condition that's proposed, should you all approve this project, would be to close the median cut on Ashford Dunwoody Road. There, currently, again, it allows northbound access into the site through that curb cut. That one would be closed. So access on Ashford Dunwoody Road would be right in, right out. And that median would be closed. And then for context, Public Works Department has a improvement project on Ashford Dunwoody Road that is the installation of a path that's an extension of the existing path that is in front of the mall presently. This rendering shows the proposed architecture. So it's a 1-story restaurant building that is set back to the street, set forward to the street, has direct pedestrian access both to the building and to the patio space. You can see the architectural integration of the patio space here, sort of for it to mask as a larger building. There's proposed public art that would have to be approved by the Public Art Commission. As part of the packet that you all have, the applicant has conducted a traffic study, and then they've also completed an updated stacking study that's also included as part of the package. The applicant is here and has their design professionals here to answer any questions about this as well. Overall, the development would create about 1,100 total new net trips to the site. Again, this chart shows the different access option based on the traffic study. Only 20% of people going to the site would really come through on Ashford Dunwoody Road and enter through that curb cut. we think that's a very low estimate, given that the other entrances aren't really visible, sort of from the site isn't really visible from those. With this, at the intersection down there, the intersection of Perimeter Center West and Ashford Dunwoody Road, you would have an increase in traffic of approximately 5% during the lunch hour, during the midday peak, and then during the PM peak, which is of course the most congested hour, approximately a 2.7% increase. Access point number 4 on this chart, which is towards Perimeter Center West and across the Le Méridien property, would be the most heavily impacted one, with the average wait times there increasing by a factor of 3 approximately during the PM hour. Staff overall recommends denial of this request, and I'll go through the different criteria to explain this. The city's goals for the perimeter center area, this is part of the PC1 zoning category, which allows for the highest use intensity. We feel a drive-through restaurant is not a good fit for this area. The city is investing significant amounts of money in the updated streetscape on Ashford Dunwoody Road, and we feel the increased volume of people entering, exiting across that would undermine the goals of that bike path improvement. While the driveway is existing, we expect a significantly increased volume on that driveway, which puts that the lacking minimum driveway spacing, which emphasizes that the closer these drives are, you have cars accelerating, you have cars decelerating, you have cars wanting to get in and out of this side, wanting to get in and out of the McDonald's side next door. Both restaurants presumably have very similar peak periods that creates sort of a potentially unsafe environment with the limited spacing of these driveways. Again, yeah, those are concerns. It's a safety concern, and it's potentially a volume concern as well that might lead to congestion in the corridor. Yeah, and overall, from a transportation standpoint, we think it's potentially problematic to add the volume of another drive-through restaurant immediately adjacent to a second drive-through restaurant. From a site plan perspective, we thank the applicant for designing the building thoughtfully and moving it towards the street. Trash is screened well, and overall, I mean, the building isn't out of scale with neighboring buildings in that corridor. This case was heard by the Planning Commission at the September meeting. Planning Commission discussed some of these aspects that I elaborated before you all, so traffic, ingress, egress, the drive-through queuing, to which the applicant has provided updated materials that are part of yours package that show that queuing, in fact, is not a problem in that drive-through. The non-conforming curb cut and interparcel connectivity. Overall, Planning Commission recommended denial of this special land use permit in a unanimous vote. And then I want to spend a second on the proposed conditions. Should this be approved, you see conditions number 1 and 2 are the typical conditions that require development similar to what's shown on the site plan and the elevations. Third one came from the Planning Commission, and that is to provide that year-round activity, is like to provide outdoor heaters on the patio. And then the fourth and the fifth one are transportation conditions that require the applicant to close the median and provide right-of-way for the path. The design of the applicant takes the path into consideration, so it's designed with the right-of-way requirements in mind. Again, overall, staff recommends denial of this. The applicant has a presentation proposed and has their full team here to answer any questions.
Okay. So the applicant is coming up to do a presentation? Yes, I guess.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. My name is Harold Buckley, 2849 Paces Ferry Road in Atlanta. I am here this evening before you on behalf of Raising Cane's. As you heard from Paul, the scope of the application before you really is centered on the drive-through, and we're asking you to approve the application for that component of our development proposal. So our presentation is going to drill down on the performance of the drive-through and its relationship with Ashford Dunwoody Road and the path that is planned and on the verge of starting construction along the front of our property. But before they get started, Allison and Harrison are going to make the technical presentation. I wanted to make a couple of points. Point one is I would again ask everyone who's here to support our application to raise their hands or signs if they have signs. This community support is on top of the recommendation of approval and support from the Dunwoody Homeowners Association. We actually had a homeowners association representative speak on our behalf at the Planning Commission. And we have at every hearing we've had people stand up and speak in support of our application. I've been doing this for 30 years, and I'm sure as you've observed, it's much easier to get angry people to come out and rail against something than it is to get people to come out and support. So the level of support that we have in the community is substantial. And point number two relates to what you heard about the traffic and impact on Le Meridian. The information that the staff was working from is old information. That's from our initial traffic study. We have studied and studied and studied this thing to death. And so the information you were presented is outdated. And what we will do is present you with the most recent analysis. And then, also related to that, you heard that 3 cars going through the interparcel access in front of the Le Meridian was enough to shut the operation of that drive-through or that circular area down. I would point out that the bank that was on the property that we are seeking to redevelop had quadruple driveways. And so if 3 cars was really enough to shut that access way down, then surely you would have heard about it before now when the bank was operating. So having made those points, I'll cede the floor to Allison.
Hi, everyone. My name is Allison Labor, and I am a licensed professional engineer in the state of Georgia, and I worked on the traffic impact study, which basically determines the effect that a new development will have on the nearby intersections. So in doing so, we met with city staff to determine the required methodology. So you can see the map to the right shows the intersections that we analyzed. And the staff did have some additional recommendations beyond what we typically study. So usually we analyze the AM and the PM peak hour or the rush hours. Staff requested that we also analyze the midday peak in order to account for the lunch rush, which we included in our analysis. In addition, staff requested that we conduct a comparison and basically use 2 methodologies to project how many trips are coming to and from the site. We typically refer to the Institute of Transportation Engineers manual. This is a peer-reviewed industry standard source. The staff also wanted us to analyze using local Raising Cane's data and use the more conservative of the 2 methodologies in our analysis, which we did. As a result of our study, the intersection operations were maintained and no improvements were necessary. So I know the number 5 on the map here, there has been attention drawn to that through comments. However, we have found that the delays are at acceptable levels, even with the build out of the Raising Cane's. In addition, I will just note that previously the daily traffic that was referenced was higher than what we revised and resubmitted a few months ago to the city. So earlier it was claimed that there were 1,100 trips a day roughly, but really our analysis says that there's 964. So a little different. And then, okay, lastly, as was also mentioned, Raising Cane's has agreed to close the median along Ashford Dunwoody Road at driveway A, number 3 on the map. This was per the city's request, and it will make the driveway limited to right in, right out access only. So even with the completion of our traffic impact study, we understood that there was concern from staff about drive-through vehicles stacking beyond the site extents. So what we did is created a simulation model, and we matched the volumes in the traffic impact study that I referred to earlier. And we modeled the midday peak, which is the period with the most trips generated to and from the site. And our team also went on a site visit to the Raising Cane's in Beaufort to observe the midday operations. And while we were on site, we saw that 70% of the vehicles entering the site were using the drive-through. In addition, we recorded how long it took for the drive-through to process vehicles. And we used this information to create our model. In creating our model, we actually added in a factor of safety and assumed that 80% of vehicles would use the drive-through. Again, this is conservatively high, factored on our conservatively high trip generation analysis. And again, this is conservatively high once again, when you consider that a multi-use path is proposed along the site frontage, in which visitors, patrons may not drive their car to the site. And we're actually very intentional about visiting Beaufort for our observations. The Beaufort and Dunwoody sites have very similar characteristics. They're both close to a mall. They're both close to 2 separate interstate or highway interchanges, and they have similar traffic volumes on the adjacent roads. In addition, the Beaufort sales are representative of those at stores in Metro Atlanta. So here I'll play for you our a sample of the modeling that we created. This is a 4-minute sample of the peak 15-minute period during the lunch rush. So it's played at 6 times speed. And as you'll see here, we've got 5 cars stacked in the drive-through. That's the most amount you'll see. And this 4-minute sample is a sample with the most amount of cars stacked in the drive-through. This is operating under the assumption that 2 drive-through lanes are open, taking orders and serving food. In addition, we provided city staff with the full 15-minute peak video in addition to a 1-hour video. So as you can see, the site is able to accommodate the vehicle queuing very easily with plenty of space on site for additional queuing. Oh, I won't make us watch it again. Okay. During the grand opening period, often demand is increased at Raising Cane's restaurants, and Raising Cane's understands that and works with local traffic engineers and police departments to understand concerns, and they implement a variety of methods, including deploying additional crew members and increasing staff so that drive-through orders are taken at handheld tablets and meals are delivered through both lanes. In addition, they often hire off-duty police officers to help control traffic, and they place signage and traffic cones to help facilitate traffic flow. And I'll pass it to Harrison.
Thanks, Allison. So as you can see on the screen, this is the proposed site plan.
A couple of things to note here is first across from the existing driveway and the proposed driveway here, you do see the existing median that is open that we are proposing to close as shown here as part of the rezoning. You can also see there's a significant amount of green space on this site plan. And that's really to show the amount of landscape and open space that's going to be provided as part of this. We are going above and beyond. We're not just meeting code minimum. We are trying to enhance just the beautification of this site itself as part of this development. The other thing you can note is you can see the multi-use path in front of the site, which we have gone ahead to show. Obviously, we've heard here tonight, there's plenty of support for bike paths, walking paths in the city. We know that the city has plans to add this in front of the site. So we've worked with Public Works to go ahead and figure out what that would be so we can set the building accordingly, as well as go ahead and make sure we're accommodating the city's long-term vision. Another thing to note here is as part of approval condition that Kane's that we would be willing to do is to pay for this path, which is approximately $150,000, which we'd be happy to show, we're good stewards and we want to be here, want to help develop this and just be a good neighbor. Other things to highlight is you can see there's this dark hatch to the left of Ashford on the site plan. This is more of, it's some pavers to basically give an entrance from pedestrians as they're walking, biking into the site. You can't really see it here, but there are bike racks to help, bring bikers off the path, park their bike, come sit at the patio, enjoy their time. And really the other main thing that we want to point out is, yes, it is an existing curb cut that we are proposing to reuse. What we're proposing though is to add a speed table. We've obviously heard everyone wants to bike, to walk, to feel safe, right? Especially if they're walking their kids. As part of this, driving around Dunwoody, we've seen some of the paths that are around here. Most of them are, as you're going over a driveway, you have your ADA path down to the vehicle. There's a crosswalk at street level. We want to raise that so that way it feels like it's a safer travel path for pedestrians, for bikers. And then as a driver, as you're either entering or leaving, you'll see the raised median as well as you'll feel it as you're going across. So you'll truly know that you're trying to give the pedestrians, the bikers, the right of way here. On this slide, we just want to point out that we have accommodated the multi-use path. This is the design that is listed on the city's website. We have worked with Public Works to go ahead and incorporate that. Raising Cane's is going at the moment, planning to come in ahead of this path. So certainly we want to make sure we're accommodating it, making sure we're thinking forward about that. On this slide, what you can see is an aerial view of what this would look like. As mentioned before, yes, there's significant greenscape, landscaping, trees, right? We want to feel like this is a destination. We're also, you can see in the middle, proposing to follow some of the city initiatives. We want to incorporate local artists. We want to be, feel like we're a member of the community. As well as you can see all of the screening. You've got the building on the left side, you've got the patio in the middle. We extend the screening along Ashford Dunwoody. So that way it doesn't feel like, you're just driving past any drive-through, truly making it feel like it doesn't, stick out, and it feels like where it should along Ashford Dunwoody. As well as this view is basically standing at the median, looking back at the site. And really this just shows you can't really see the drive-through beyond it. So as you're walking, biking, driving, et cetera, along Ashford Dunwoody, you'll be able to, you'll see the building, you'll see the patio, you'll see people hanging out. We do want to pull people off the path. We want them to come sit at the restaurant, hang out, enjoy their food, and, certainly be, feel like they've got a place to hang out. And that concludes our presentation. We're happy to answer any questions you guys have.
And before we wrap up, I'd also like to note that we reserve any time that we have for rebuttal. And I would also want to emphasize the traffic table across the Ashford Dunwoody curb cut, because it's not just a visual oh, I'm driving across a path for pedestrians. It does also act as a speed breaker. So you're not going to want to drive your car too fast over it if you want to keep your car very long. So with those, we'll answer your questions, and we ask you to approve our application.
Thank you. Unless there's an objection, I'm going to open. Wait, I have a procedural question, Sharon. He said he reserved his time, but we don't. Would that just be in the for, the reserve, would that just be in the for and the against? Okay, so I'm gonna start with against first. So if anyone would like to speak against this application, approach the microphone. And we'll have 10 minutes per side.
Hi, Council. And so my name is Zachary Humphreys. I grew up here in Dunwoody. I'm a resident here in Dunwoody. I went to Austin Elementary, Beach Street Charter Middle School, Dunwoody High School. Graduated from, this is my, this is my home, and I love this community so much. I find it so wonderful to see so many young people here participating in community organizing and putting their voice into a community that's theirs, because this is your community. And I love the idea of a Raising Cane. I guess I'm ambivalent to a Raising Cane's, not for the sake of Marriott having traffic or any of these things, but I ask of the youth of Dunwoody here today to dream of something bigger, to dream of something past Raising Cane's. It's very difficult out there right now. I mean, the median home price in Atlanta is 800, in Dunwoody is around $800,000. Rent is north of $2,000 per month. It's a very expensive city here. And when you graduate from Dunwoody High School, like myself and so many other people who grew up here, you'll find yourself on the outside of this community looking in. And I deeply believe that all of those who call Dunwoody their community have the right to dream, have the right to say, no, I belong here. There are a lot of things that we could do with this land that's not necessarily just Raising Cane's. It could be housing for you. It could be permanence for you in this very community. And it's often presented in this diametrical, that you only have two options with this. You either have Raising Cane's or you don't have Raising Cane's. You have something else. But maybe think about the idea of that something else. Close your eyes and imagine what could be there, because this is your community. And if that choice is Raising Cane's, then that is by all means this is your community. You have the ability to say that, but maybe think for something bigger. Maybe think of permanence here for you and all of those who grow up in Dunwoody. And I love you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in opposition of the application? All right, seeing none. I have 10 minutes for those interested in speaking for the application. Anyone would like to speak for the application? All right, I don't see anyone. So with that, unless there's a council objection, I close this public hearing. Public hearing is closed, and now we will have time for questions of the staff and applicant and council discussion. As a reminder, this is not something we vote on tonight. Georgia lays out our zoning procedures and we follow them. Anybody? Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you. So I have some questions, but before I get to them, I just want to start with an observation. I thought one of the items that was in our packet was a survey that was done of Dunwoody residents at the Groovin on the Green. And I thought it was fascinating. I just want to point out what I took from the survey. Everyone said, yeah, we'd love to see a Raising Cane's in here. But one of the questions on there is, what matters most to you about a new business opening in Dunwoody? And 65% of the respondents, the number one concern was traffic and congestion, and pedestrian safety. So that was telling to me. And then another question in the survey was, I'm sorry, let me just scroll down there. I'm sorry. What matters? I'm sorry, where did that go? Excuse me a second. What would excite you most about a Raising Cane's in Dunwoody? And it was, you can rank it from 1 to 5. Only one person out of the survey said a drive-through as their number one answer. And actually, of the top 3 answers that you could rank, only a total of 7 people mentioned a drive-through, 15% of the respondents. So what that's telling me is our residents' biggest concern is traffic, and they really don't care too much about having a drive-through there. Now, with that said, I'm not naive. I understand QSRs and the importance of drive-throughs in the business. So I tried to do some of my own research on the subject of drive-throughs with QSRs and everything. And I have some questions. So if someone from Raising Cane's can come up, I have some questions about the queuing and about the traffic study. So with the queuing, it said that when you were measuring, it said the average time is about 66 seconds or about a minute. For that is from when? From placing an order to picking up the order and pulling off the site?
Sarah Holmes, Property Development for Raising Cane's. So the point of order is made at the menu boards and then closed out whenever they are handed their food. So that's the total elapsed time. And you had mentioned something about the survey, and just to point out, it was not a ranking of 1 to 5. That was just giving options of what things were important for the people. So it wasn't indicative of people not wanting a drive-through. It was just the items that they cared most about having a Raising Cane's for.
Okay. So what was used to determine the speed of the drive-through, the 66 seconds as the average?
Yes, you might be looking at the memo. I'm not sure where you're pulling that number from.
It was the Raising Cane's drive-through queuing.
Okay, yes. So that was when our team went on a site visit to the Raising Cane's in Beaufort, and we went out there during the peak lunch rush and stood at the drive-through for an hour with the timer, measuring like with the lap button how often a car pulled out of the drive-through. So on average, it was every 60 seconds.
So that's not necessarily how long the order took. It's how long it took for cars to pull out.
Outflow.
Okay, because that surprised me, because like I said, I wanted to understand the impact of drive-throughs. And so I did some research, and the average wait was 5 minutes and 29 seconds for QSRs. Taco Bell is the fastest at about 4 minutes, and Chick-fil-A is the slowest at about 8 minutes. So, and that the average for QSRs drive-throughs is about 17 to 18 cars per hour. And what you're projecting at peak time is 76 drive-through vehicles per hour, which is about 4 times that average. My concern then moves on to, we saw the simulation. The simulation looked great, but in my mind, the simulation doesn't match with what I think the reality is going to be. With that many cars going through at about 5.5 minutes per car, if you're consistent with the national average, even if you're the fastest at 4 minutes per car.
We are the fastest in the nation at 2.5 minutes.
Okay.
And to answer the reason why
is that when you pull into a Taco Bell, there's 100 options. They don't know if they're making a taco, a chicken burrito, the same with any other QSR. When you pull into Cane's, we know exactly what you're ordering. You're getting fries, you're getting chicken. There's only a particular amount that is the difference there. So whenever a car pulls in onto the drive, we call it dropping bird. And that's when our kitchen starts making the chicken and preemptively understands and can expedite the orders to make sure that we're adhering to those 2 minutes and 30 seconds. It's 2 minutes and 28 seconds, to be quite honest. But we pride ourselves in accuracy. It's a focus menu. So there's 5 items on our menu. It's premium chicken tenders, crinkle cut fries, Texas toast, coleslaw, and cane sauce. So when you pull up, we know what you're getting. It's not an order of, are you getting a burger or, a chicken sandwich or this or that or a salad. We know what you're getting. So it's just how much of what you're getting. So we can expedite it. And not only that, we have a very optimized kitchen process. So that's why you see a lot of the Canes, they flow in the exact same manner, is because we know how our kitchen is designed to make sure that it's optimum, that every single second counts in our kitchen. So it's to try to compare it to a Taco Bell or a McDonald's or anything else. There's just nothing else on the market that is comparable to Cane's.
Okay, and like I said, this was just industry stuff that I pulled up. I didn't see Raising Cane's listed in the list, so I'll take your word for it. I've never sat in a Raising Cane's drive-through. There's not one close enough for me to have done that. But I've sat in plenty of other drive-throughs, and so when cars are queuing, how much of that is behind the menu board, like where they actually place the order? Like when at peak time when cars are coming in, how does that stack up?
So during peak hours, we always have 2 staff members start taking mobile tablet orders in advance. It's similar to some of the other quick serve restaurants that you may have gone through, where you'll see crew members outside with the mobile tablet and taking payments there in advance of the menu boards. That way it helps expedite the flow of the drive-through lanes. In addition, it's also having a crew member that's able to get out and hand those meals out to that second lane and move them out of the drive-through quickly.
Okay, and all this is leading to a point. Because when I looked at the site layout, the site plan, again, I'm just eyeballing it, presuming everything's drawn to scale, that from the menu board back on the inner lane, you could probably fit about 3 cars before you're backing out into where the driveway is, and maybe about 4 cars on the outer lane. So that's about 7 cars stacked at the menu board. And a lot of the drive-throughs that I see in the Dunwoody area, in the metro area, have a lot more cars stacked behind the menu boards than 7 at peak times. And because those driveways basically originate before they're backing into the parking lot, or right at the 2 driveways, one going to the north where the North Italia is, the other one going to the driveway at the Le Meridian. I'm really concerned about if it goes beyond those 7 cars, how is traffic going to flow through the lot? So what was your analysis of?
We've proven out through our traffic reports that that's not the case during normal operating, even during mid-peak volumes, that wouldn't be the case. We are able to expedite our traffic through the queue and not have that stack impede any of the existing.
So you don't anticipate ever having more than 7 cars queued up at the menu board?
Our engineers can talk specific numbers that we expect, but what I'd like to specifically point out is that stacking and queuing was a specific concern that your engineer on staff raised at the beginning of the process. We did additional queuing analyses, and we prepared drawings showing the queuing plan for the property. And his response was that his concerns had been addressed. So it's not just what we think, it's that we've worked with the city's traffic engineer, and my understanding is there is not a current concern about queuing capacity.
Paul, or do we know who can you address that from the city perspective?
Yes, they have addressed this with our traffic engineer in Public Works Department. The challenge with these and this that, you know, people see some of those busy restaurants when they open and they're queuing out the door, and the models always show, you know, that there is no queuing. It's these two realities. You know, it's like in the models, yes, it is addressed. Then whether it'll work in practice, that, you know, it still remains to be seen. But it is, I mean, they've done from a modeling standpoint what they can do.
So from a modeling standpoint, so what happens if more than 7 cars are queued up? Because that's where it looks to me where we're starting to block driveways and impede traffic flow through the site. So I'm just curious
Yeah.
what where the cars are lining up if that ever happens.
We do have a grand opening plan that we've shared with the city, and we're more than happy to discuss it with the police force. We do hire off-duty officers to help address, do look at temporary coning measures, signage to try to correct any of those grand opening issues that Paul mentioned. I would say too, we have opened up over 900 restaurants across this country. I've personally worked in some of the most difficult areas in Boston and Los Angeles in a lot more complicated situations where it's much tighter. And we've always been able to figure out a path forward to whether that even means that we have to wave customers on and lose potential business just to make sure that we're not impeding and being a good neighbor to surrounding communities, making sure that pedestrians, bike traffic, you know, vehicles are safe and doing things appropriately. So we are more than willing to have that conversation about how we can open this in a safe manner. But it is a very condensed time frame that we're talking about. If you want to look at the modelings, I would again point, we have over 900 restaurants across the country that open and function like they are designed to.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily concerned about the grand opening. I understand that's a blip on the radar. It's a moment in time. I'm just concerned. So what you're telling me is that you don't anticipate ever having 7 cars beyond the order, the menu board, stacked up? Because again, to my concern is that once that 8th car pulls up, you're now blocking driveways and blocking in that upper northwest corner of the site. And where does car 8 plus, how are they lined up so they're not impeding the traffic through the site?
If there was that much stacking, our team would already be prepared. We do have an advanced system where we anticipate and see cars immediately coming onto our site, so they can prepare chicken in advance of that. So when we're not turning around in 2 minutes and 28 seconds, we're actually turning around in 60 seconds or even less than that. Because when we see a high peak volume come in, we don't wait till they get to the menu board to start dropping the chicken for them to then start counting the minutes. So we tried to adjust our operations accordingly and really amp up so that way we can expedite the system. We also have the capabilities to have them pull into a parking stall for larger orders to then have a crew member run out that order.
So you, correct me if I'm saying, from what I understand, you have more advanced modeling and queuing plans than have been presented to us. I'd love if that could be shared with, if not tonight, I know tonight probably not, but I'd like to be able to see what those plans are prior to the next meeting.
Yeah, we have prepared those, and it was just simply to answer the staff's question of how we would stack it. And we do have the capability of also having internal stacking on site. So that way, if somebody did come from that northern site, that they could come into our side of the property and then queue into the drive-through lane. And then the Ashford Dunwoody site actually line up and queue from the south. So we have shown that and addressed it with the traffic engineer and staff.
And all of that material that was presented to the staff is in our application file already. We're happy to provide courtesy copies, but if you want to look at it, all of it is in our application file.
Okay, I'll get with our staff to get more information on that.
And I guess just one more point is, yes, there are 7 7 to 8 cars that stack from the menu board back, which I know is the concern. But as we've mentioned previously, in those heavier volumes, staff can go out with the iPad to take orders to pull some of those cars forward into the drive-through beyond the menu board because they're taking mobile orders. And it's about 22, 23 spots from the pickup window to the back of the drive-through essentially. So we can definitely pull some of those cars forward.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Stacy?
Where to start? I guess since you guys are standing right there, how many Cane's locations don't have drive-throughs?
We're a drive-through based model business, so most of our Cane's
I
have.
understand that. My question is how many don't have drive-throughs? Because I've been in 2 that don't. So how many don't have drive-throughs?
Generally college campus locations and ones that are in a downtown specific location that does not allow to drive.
So you do have a fair amount of locations that
Not
drive.
freestanding, no
Okay.
ma'am.
And then I might just kind of to clarify something that you said, I forget your name, the gentleman, that you guys were willing to close the median and do the path. Just so you know, with the rezoning, that's part of the conditions. You have to. So you're not offering to, because of rezoning from O&I to P2, you actually have to do those things. I just want to make that clear. Then my next question is actually for Paul. I just had some questions on the easement and stuff. So I know because the right to have a drive-through went away because the building was abandoned, but there's still easements. So do those easements ever, because they're in order to access the Cane's, they have to drive through other private property. You said they have an easement. So why wouldn't the easement go away if like some of the zoning conditions did?
So the easements are cross-access easements that the different owners have onto one another. Those are private agreements that run with the land. They don't go away when our zoning goes away, our entitlements go away. Those are private agreements.
So those always go with the land no matter what. Okay, and then my next question was, and it's just, I just kind of confirm, like Raising Cane's is doing this application, but it could be Joe's Smoke Shop who wants a drive-through. It could be any other restaurant. It could be a Taco Bell. It could be a Del Taco. It could be Burger King to be next to McDonald's. So, or Crystal. I mean, if we approve this SLUP, then this goes with the property, not the business. Is that correct? So if Raising Cane's were to leave, then the next business could still have a drive-through regardless of what it is, as long as it's an allowed use.
That's correct. So it runs with the land, and we had discussed options with the applicant, and they had proposed some type of options. We're not in favor of those for 2 reasons. It's hard to tell operating business if the ownership changes that they need to close down. I think it's hard to do. And the second is that from a state law standpoint, if we grant something through an ordinance, we have to take it away through an ordinance. So we can't really put in a condition that if X factor happens, then it'll go away. That's not how, it's not allowed in the state law.
Okay, so it stays with the property no matter what the business is. Okay, then my next question is to the traffic engineer. You said in your presentation that the delays were acceptable levels. Can you tell me what an acceptable delay level is?
Sure. So we use a level of service as a measure of delay that is experienced by vehicles, and it's similar to grades in school. So it's A through F. A is the best, F is the worst. E and F are considered non-acceptable, but A through D are acceptable. So all the intersections that we studied maintain an operation of an acceptable level of service.
Catherine?
Allison, I understood that when Buford opened, it was a just gigantic amount of traffic on the auxiliary road. Did that calm down? Oh, you don't know.
Speaking to when Buford, the grand opening period of Buford.
Right, week later, month later, did it calm down? Is it calm now?
That was modeled, so you saw the results from Buford, so I would say it's acceptable. Generally, grand opening plans are put in place until they're no longer needed, so that could be a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We don't anticipate it, Dunwoody, to be larger than any of our other standards. Because we have numerous other Atlanta projects, Metro Atlanta projects in the works that will be opening before Dunwoody, so you won't have a particular draw like you did with Buford or Woodstock, because we have other proposed locations that will be open and in place before this one. If I could just make 2 points back to previous statements, the bike path is not currently part of the conditions that were tied to the rezone. That was the closure of the median that was conditioned to the rezone. And Raising Cane's does have a 40-year lease. We're not looking to be a short-term partner in the neighborhood. Speaking to commitment levels, we do provide jobs, we do provide fundraising, we do provide community support efforts. I don't know if any of you have seen the news, but when the floods hit Texas, Cane's beat FEMA out there to be first ones out there to give back to that community, to make sure the EMS and the first responders had food, to make sure the community had food. So that is a huge part of why we do this. It's not just a drive-through. It is a piece of this community that we really want to be a part of.
Understood. I got a question for Paul. Let me ask you about the easements. And my understanding is when you enter Perimeter Center West into Le Meridian, the first part of that road is public. And then it transfers to private ownership.
That's correct, yeah.
Is it privately owned by Le Meridian?
That's my understanding. Yes, I'm not 100% sure because I just took over this case. So I can certainly bring it to y'all, but that's my understanding. It's the property of the Le Meridian, and these were developed sort of in unison. So like the individual properties are owned by the individual property owners, but they were developed to function jointly with cross parcel access.
So cross parcel only means between that and the old bank.
Correct. Yeah.
And there's an owner of the bank, they are looking to sell, whatever. Why would it continue once they sell?
It's deeded. I mean, these things are deeded sort of with the property that deeded in the county court. You know, they're registered and deeded, so they would remain. Yeah.
Forever?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like when there's 2 kinds of easements. There's temporary easements or like a construction easement when we're building a project and we need to be on someone else's property. And then there's permanent easements that we get when we need to maintain, like if we need to get on someone else's property to maintain like a sidewalk. So I think that was a good example. So yes, yes, they're deeded with the land, just like a rezoning would be an easement.
Okay.
I think of it, often we get this when we, as the city, install our improvements on private property, but we have a perpetual easement. So if the owner sells that land, then we don't have to remove our access on this. It remains in perpetuity. It goes from owner to owner, the same way how a zoning entitlement goes from owner to owner.
So they couldn't close off the roadway between Le Meridian and the old bank. That cannot be closed?
I mean, it could be done sort of in some type of a private agreement between the property owners, but we as a city, we also have a code requirement for cross-access easement, and we would want that cross-access easement because it allows for circulation of our streets. Otherwise, anybody who would want to go anywhere on any property would always have to go out on the streets, and it would increase volume. I have one addition to the last point. Should you all wish to make it a condition for the path to be constructed, that that is something that you all
Yeah,
can do
interrupted.
as part
Okay,
of this.
I'm looking at what we passed for the rezoning, and point number 3 was prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for a new primary structure, the owner will construct its portion of the Ashford Dunwoody Trail.
And then again, I don't have it in front of me. I can't say for
Right.
sure.
No, it's there.
But
It's there.
if it's there, it's there. Yeah.
Right.
It's here.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah.
already,
And we'll convey right away to the city to incorporate the complete landscape improvements. Final, yeah, I mean, in order to get their CO, they have to construct the trail.
I understand another point that you brought up was the curb cut was too close to the other curb. But if this were to become any other kind of restaurant or any kind of anything, you'd still have the same problem. Nobody's moving that curb cut.
So we have that already as part of a different zoning case too. Like we did this part of the at 84 Perimeter Center case. I mean, this is sort of a plan to get this median break closed. No matter what happens, it's just the question, whoever moves first will have to do it.
No, not the median, but the curb cut into the bank. That is too close per code. You don't want
Yeah,
that.
so if this was built new, then we wouldn't allow it to happen at that location because of the spacing requirements. But it is an existing curb cut, and that happens to be too close per our code requirements.
Right, but there isn't much to be done, given that it's already there.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. That's all I have.
John.
I have a question, Paul. Same line of questioning in the sense of the easements, the roads, the connectivity. I was looking at all the parcels on our zoning map. There are individual parcels, individual
Right.
owners,
Yeah.
different owners all over the place.
Yeah.
And I also had questions on could any one of the properties close the access? One of the reasons that we are here making a decision is there's a whole bunch of criteria, pass or fail. One of the main criteria is there an adverse impact to the neighbors?
Right.
And the Meridian, the hotel, has mentioned that they are going to be adversely impacted. Now, the agreement supposedly, I'm guessing back in the day, the deeded property, that was with a bank. How many people, raise of hands, how many people have been in line in a bank in a drive-through today? I don't think too many, but I'm guessing a few people might have been through a drive-through in a fast food restaurant. So the agreements may have changed in the sense of it was a bank, now it's a fast food. There an agreement that I have to look at, is there an adverse action for this development and abutting that development? So if they can't close, I was gonna look and say, let's close the access, let's close it there and close it there, make it 4 individual properties. And maybe then it would be self-contained and it wouldn't be impacting the bank. That's not possible from what I'm hearing. So therefore, I'm looking at the decision on, is this gonna be an adverse impact to the neighbors next to it? Is the North Italia, do they have any inputs, comments, concerns? Have we heard from them?
We have not received anything from North Italia, and they haven't come out to speak to us.
Okay, but I am hearing from the La Meridian, and I take that seriously. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? I do. Hi. So I want to start because I'm just curious and really, really nosy. Like, of all the people that are here supporting you, if you live in Dunwoody, could you raise your hand? Yeah. Okay. Hands down. If you work in Dunwoody, could you raise your hand? Okay. Thank you. Okay. This should come as no surprise to y'all because as early as 2022, as I met with representatives from Raising Cane's, I said this was not something I could support. We have spent a long time planning for Ashford Dunwoody Road, Perimeter Center. We purposefully eliminated drive-throughs because we didn't think they were the best things for our community. Let me tell you a little bit about Ashford Dunwoody Road. It's it for Dunwoody. When I look at all your other new locations, they are in they're in a different kind of commercial area. Buford's great. I love the city of Buford. We don't have a row of fast food restaurants for you to pop a Raising Cane's in next to. I have the most commercial office space in the Southeast. I have high rises. I have a strong regional mall, and Ashford Dunwoody is our commercial core. That's it. I'm not Sandy Springs. That has Roswell Road, but it also has Pill Hill and all the way over to the Cobb County line. This is it. We get one shot at having a nice commercial district. A few years ago, we passed a plan called the Edge City Plan, which shows our vision for Perimeter Center. And I like that plan. We worked really hard on it. We went out to the community. We had community buy-in. This drive-through does not fit what the community expected. They may love Raising Cane's. I can appreciate that, but what my colleague said is true. If in 3 years after you open, everyone decides chicken is evil and fish is it could be a Captain D's. So I think it's important for the community or the young people that are here to understand that cities, they don't do this stuff willy-nilly. We have a vision for Perimeter Center. We don't have a Buford Highway. We don't have I looked at all your locations. They are in a very different place. Maybe I'm a elitist about what I think my community could be and should be, but it's our community. We faced no opposition, I don't think, when we said drive-throughs were a no-go. So I think that's important. I also want to point out that some of your competitors are doing standalone restaurants without drive-throughs. Chick-fil-A in Metro Atlanta has opened at least 2, maybe 3 in the last year or so in areas that are very car-centric, that people have to park or use the app to come out and get it. There are other fast food restaurants, including some of your locations, though not as many, that don't have drive-throughs. And we have Super Chicks, I don't know, walking distance from here, Panda Express, Chipotle, all kinds of fast food restaurants that don't have drive-throughs, just in Dunwoody. And they didn't even, I mean, some of them were built at a time when they might have been able to. So if you want to put a Raising Cane's in Dunwoody, I think you can do it without a drive-through. I do, because other restaurants, your peer restaurants are doing it. We are supposed to be working on being healthier as a country. People can get out of their car to get their chicken. To Stacy's point, you've already, the rezoning for the restaurant agrees to do the path out front. Then the only other thing I have to say, and obviously I've made my position really clear, is that the comparison in the data, page 7, Paul, about the bank trips, I didn't totally understand that, and maybe it's not even relevant because for 4 years now I've been saying the same feedback to Raising Cane's. Can you pull that page up?
Which page are you looking for?
7, I think it was 7 in your presentation. Okay. Nope, that is not the right page. It was the one with the, yeah, that one. Okay. I don't understand the net new trips. Are we arguing that there were 1,200 trips for the bank?
No, I think I'll let
Okay.
Kimberly explain this.
Okay.
Yeah, I can speak to that.
Mhm.
So a common trip type
Mhm.
of fast food restaurant is called a pass-by trip.
Okay.
Gas stations see similar trips. So you're already on your commute home. You're not a new trip to the network.
Mhm.
You drive southbound, pretend, on Ashford Dunwoody every day,
Mhm.
leaving City Hall, and you're driving, you're already on the road, and you say, hey, you know what sounds good? Chicken. And you make a right turn in and a right turn out of the driveway, but you are already a vehicle on the network regardless. So it's basically trips that are following existing patterns, but will utilize the new development.
Okay.
And that's based on industry standard rates. So we didn't make that up.
I've got you. Thank you. Think anybody else? And I just want to speak to the community, our community that's probably watching this at home or might read about it in the local paper. There's not a dearth of drive-throughs right here. There's a McDonald's next door. There's a Chick-fil-A and a Wendy's. There's a Chick-fil-A in the mall parking lot. There's a Wendy's, and there's another Chick-fil-A if people need a drive-through, there's a drive-through within whatever. So, because I know that some people, I get it. I had small children at one point, and I understand that. But we get one shot, people, one shot at Ashford Dunwoody Road, and we're gonna get it right. At least I'm one vote. I'm gonna get it right. Thank you. Does anybody else have anything else? Nope. All right, so we will see this again when, Paul?
This will come back at the December meeting.
Okay, the first meeting, we only have, well,
first
no,
meeting.
December 1st
The first December meeting.
is December 1st.
Don't know what exact date it is,
Okay.
but yeah.
I don't think that, okay. All right. All right, sure.
The next item on the agenda is an ordinance to amend the conditions of zoning of lot parcel number 18-347-01013,
Mhm.
18-347-01021, and 18-347-01028.
Sharon, we'll wait 1 second. We'll let the room
Okay.
empty. Everybody has to go home. Yes, sir. So you're Madeline too.
I'm not.
Okay, you're Richard McLeod, our Community Development Director.
Yes, I want to interrupt for mayor and council. We were just approached by the attorney.
Mhm.
He asked for the first reading to be held probably in January. He would like to defer, so I told him he had to ask you all. So before Paul did his speech and we started, I just wanted to let you know that he was asking for deferral.
Does anyone object?
No, is this gonna be for both of them?
Oh, okay, wait.
I had a question regarding the advertising and whether it had to be re-advertised.
If it's deferred in January?
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, it does not, because if you all defer it, it just moves till January.
Will the signs be changed?
Yes, they will be
Okay.
changed.
I think it's worth asking if anybody's here to speak at the
Okay,
hearing.
we did this before. Is anyone here to speak for or against this application? Is anyone here to speak for this application? Okay, I did that.
So then is it 4 and 5?
Both items. There's a SLUP and a rezoning.
It would be for both the rezoning and then for the special land use permit, because they're two separate agenda items. We would ask that you all make the same motion for both agenda items.
Okay. Go ahead.
So Mayor, what I'd like to do for purposes of the record, see if anybody is going to comment on 5, and then have a motion that 4 and 5 be deferred to a date and time certain, since you're not giving additional notices other than changing the signs. This is notice what you say tonight by way of motion.
Okay. Does anyone here to speak against item number 5? Is anyone here to speak for item number 5? Okay. Sharon, did you need to read item number 5 before I said that? Okay. Go ahead and read 5. And then I'll do it again.
Item number 5 is an ordinance to amend the zoning conditions of lot parcel number 18-347-01013, 18-347-01021, and 18-347-01128 in consideration of zoning case RZ 2505 for 84 Perimeter Center East.
Okay, I'll do it one more time. Is anybody here to speak against this application? Seeing none, is anyone here to speak for this application? Seeing none. Okay, now I need a motion.
Before you make the motion, let's make sure we're right about the date and time so it can be in the motion, please.
Do we have to have it in the motion or can we?
I want it in the
Okay.
motion.
So January 12th is the first meeting in January. January 26th is the second meeting in January.
Yeah, January 12th.
I move to defer items number 4 and item number 5 to the January 12th meeting
At 6 PM.
at 6 PM.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Harris, second by Councilman Hennigan. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you. All right. At our last meeting on October 27th, when we were pulling things off the consent agenda, we forgot to actually vote on the consent agenda. So we need to vote.
To approve the consent agenda from October 27th, 2025 as amended.
Second.
Moved by John, second by Rob. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Now we are on to the next, the current consent agenda. And does anybody have any questions? Go ahead.
Move to approve.
Moved by Stacy,
Second.
second by Joe.
Is
Rachel here?
No, is the family of Dr. Betty Wills here?
Yeah.
No.
But Rachel, why don't you come up and talk to us a little bit?
Would like to at least acknowledge.
Let's highlight this.
My best, because honestly, she worked with Brent a lot more than me, but, yeah, so Dr. Will's flag lady, as we called her, and the Women's Club called her, was instrumental in our, build out, if you will, of all the flag poles across the Dunwoody Park system. So her son, upon her passing, reached out to the Parks Department, and it was stated that she would like to continue that. So going forward, we have a couple parks in mind, Homecoming being number one, and then kind of updating flag poles to use her money as she would have wished. So
It's so lovely.
Yeah.
It's a very lovely donation. Will we be like putting a plaque or something?
yeah, so it'll be similar to what we have at Georgetown, the flagpole at Georgetown by the playground with her name on it.
Mhm.
Yep, same thing.
Okay. That's just lovely.
Yeah,
Maybe
it
we
is.
can invite her family when
Mhm.
we install the flagpole
For
at
sure.
Homecoming. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Next, vote with the vote. Thank you. How it happens. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you for catching me on that. All right, Sharon, I believe you have to read the next one.
Mayor, item number 14 is an MMSP 25-01 for 50 Campus Way, 100 Campus Way, 200 Campus Way, 244 Campus Way, and 300 Campus Way.
I will be Madeline for tonight again, even if Richard didn't want to be. This is a second read, so I'll go through this very briefly, but I have a fuller set of presentation slides if you all have any questions. This is a major master sign plan. If you remember, like these are documents that we require for larger development, for multi-building developments, and they can applicants can ask for relief from certain code sections as part of this process. So that's what's in front of us. This is for the Campus 244 development, which is down on Perimeters on the Parkway and Interstate 285. Parts of them opened earlier this year. It's a large-scale mixed-use development with an office component that includes has a lot of leases, including Inside Global, Beyond. There's the Element Hotel. There's a separate parking structure, and then there is retail, including the Cantina Taqueria. So there is signage already installed that all meets the code, but there are items proposed that the applicant wants to do for visibility purposes that do not, which is why this application comes before you all now. This is the overall site plan of the site. You can see the large office building in the center here. And then the Element Hotel to the left on the screen, and then the parking structure at the bottom facing Interstate 285. The red signs included here on this map are the ones that need an exemption from the code, so which is what is before you all tonight. The most visible aspect of this is the parking deck that will include 2 signs for office tenants. Then there's the retail section of this development. There is additional signage proposed for the Cantina Taqueria that is presently open, and also for the future restaurant that is sort of along that courtyard between the hotel and the office building. In addition, there's wayfinding signage that is slightly taller than what is typically allowed. We have, as part of this, we have a sightline study to make sure that visibility isn't blocked for drivers. Overall, we think this is a package that meets the approval criteria. For this, we haven't received any negative feedback on this, and we're recommending approval. And the applicant is here to answer any questions.
All right, does anybody have any questions? This is an action item.
Move to approve.
Moved by
Second.
John, second by Rob. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you. And just also, if you haven't visited Campus 244, you should, because it is a thing of beauty.
Mayor, item number 15 is an ordinance to amend the city of Dunwoody zoning classification and map of lot parcel number 18-344-03-005 in consideration of zoning case RZ 25-06 for 4500 North Shalford Road from OI Office Institution District zoning classification to C1 Local Commercial District.
And again, this is a second read, so I'll be pretty brief in the presentation. Again, we have the applicant here to answer any questions. This is a rezoning to C1 to allow a veterinary hospital. And it is the former Emory Medical Office building on Shalford that moved across the street pretty much into the new building that was constructed recently. You all had some recommendations or some requests for zoning conditions in here that I'll go over, because those are changes from what you all had seen at the first read. I'll go through those in a second. Again, like the building is the existing building. The proposed use will be in the footprint, within the same footprint of the building. Will build it out to meet its new need, but there's no addition immediately proposed. A small retail space is also allowed. Like there's retail for a cafe in the future is anticipated by this zoning as well. And the big concern people often have is outdoor dog use due to the noise impacts. And here there are no outdoor dog runs proposed. It's just pet relief for animals that are in treatment. The same, there's no animal boarding proposed as part of this. Again, beyond sort of the hospital use. So we're recommending approval on this. And I have this slide to show the changed conditions, and I want to go over those. Number two here is more discrete on what is allowed as per the outdoor use on the parcel, with a specific square footage maximum for the pet relief area, and that it is not supposed to be a play area. Number three down here, I think there was a request from the council that an addition or future additions to this, should they come up, again, they're not anticipated now, but should they come up in the future, that they be not have to go through the same process again. So we created this language here. The process would be a minor modification. Minor modification is typically for items that aren't an increase in square footage or moving it closer to the lot lines. So it would be submitted as a minor modification that can be approved on the staff level by the community development director. And then number 5, and here the applicant had voiced some concerns about closing that curb cut before the path project actually gets implemented, having to spend money pretty much to close this if the position will change. And this condition allows that curb cut to remain open at a future time when the Shallowford bike path project moves forward. And again, like the multi-use path is anticipated to be on the western side of Shallowford, so on the side of the proposed hospital, then that curb cut will be closed and the right-of-way will be provided. Again, we're recommending approval on this, and the applicant is present. And with that, let me know if you all have any questions.
Move to approve.
Moved by Joe, second by Catherine. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Do we have to say with the
Conditions.
with the conditions? Move to approve with the conditions as written?
Okay, will you take back your second? Okay, Joe, try again.
Move to approve with conditions per staff recommendations 1 through 6.
Catherine. All right, so that was moved by Joe with the conditions, second by Catherine. Any further discussion or questions? John, thank you.
Yeah, I have questions regarding the easements, basically off Pernishall going to Dunwoody Park. Explain that to me. I mean, we're all learning about easements today, aren't we?
Lots.
And cut throughs and all the rest. So let's talk about this one. If Dunwoody Park were to be completely redeveloped and need greater access to Pernishall, the lights, and this is going to give them that access. But right now let's say it's a single lane. You got to go around curves and it's tight and what if that needed to be expanded? What is the easement width? What is the throughput for that easement if Dunwoody Park were to be redeveloped?
Yeah, and the easement does not. So I think it is, and let me quickly read this. Again, this is not, I haven't booked this case, so I'm coming in, but I know about the items. Yeah, the easement is, so it is a private easement presently, and it is cross access. So the easement itself does not allow for or very likely does not allow for widening of that road. So if it needs to be increased in the future, and if we want to make this, let's say we want to make this part of a street network, then we would have to maintain, or we would have to get additional rights to it.
Okay, so we're giving them an easement based on a condition that we're putting in this matter in front of us.
The
easement exists, so we're just memorializing it and putting it back in.
Yeah, and also making it a zoning condition. And again, easements are private agreements. So they get started as private agreements. They can be taken away as private agreements too. This one sort of memorializes this as a zoning condition too.
I guess it's private until we put it into a public document, but okay. All right, I guess no other questions. I'm just concerned on putting a condition in, but we're not saying the throughput, or we're doing it for a future development in Dunwoody Park, but we're not saying what it is. So I'm just making sure I sort of understand.
The applicant was okay with this condition? Yes, okay. Do you want her to, you can come answer on the microphone so it's on the record, please.
I'm Dr. Tamasi. I'm one of the doctors at Dogwood. Thank you guys for helping us through this. I've learned a lot, falling in love with Dunwoody. You guys are great. The easement is there and we're okay if in the future we need to make it wider because of, and like if we, I mean, whatever is needed to make sense, but it's already there.
You're gonna have to go around, if that street were ever to be widened or throughput,
Mhm.
basically it dead ends into a building right now anyway. It's gonna be a hard left and it's just, okay. I have no issues with it. I just figured I'd be asking questions. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
I was just gonna comment, my doctor used to be here when this was a medical building. I didn't even know that easement was back there. Everybody, I think, that would come into this building would immediately turn left and park in front of the building. So even if there was traffic coming through, I don't know that it would materially impact the people going in and out of that office there.
Okay. All right, we have a motion on the floor, right? Yes, okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes unanimously. Congratulations. We look forward to you opening. Call us for the ribbon cutting. Mhm.
The next item on the agenda is a franchise agreement with Google Fiber. Michael Smith.
Good evening. This item was brought to the council a month or so, maybe 2 months ago. And we're just bringing it back now. The only thing that really changed from the last time it was discussed is we did add into the agreement that for larger build outs, it could be a condition of permit that Google would pay for, additional support from the city to inspect or follow up on issues in their build out. And Google agreed to that. Also, since you last discussed it, GMA, Georgia Municipal Association, published like a standard agreement that they suggested with Google, and we compared ours to theirs, and they're almost identical. Basically, all the main conditions are the same, and including how or what types of services that the revenue should be collected on. There is a representative here from Google tonight if the council would like to ask them any questions, but we're bringing this forth for y'all's consideration again.
Okay. One of the things I learned is that we already have a few Google Fiber customers in Dunwoody, correct?
Yes.
Primarily in perimeter, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I think just close to where their original trunk line ran through the city, they have a few customers.
And if we have a franchise, right now we collect no franchise fees from Google because we don't have an agreement, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Just thought that was interesting. All right. Anybody have any questions, Sean? And Just George from Google is here to help if we need
Yeah,
it.
I had questions regarding the franchise agreement goes in, but let's say there's segments of the community that are easier to build out or segments of the community that Google thinks they're gonna get the most, customers from. Something like Georgia Power, when we have a franchise agreement with Georgia Power, they're gonna serve everybody in the community. Is Google gonna serve everybody in the community? Or how does that work?
I don't think they're required to by the franchise agreement, and I think it's similar to other telecommunication companies that it's more of a business decision, I guess, on their part, which areas to serve and which not to. But there's nothing in the agreement that requires them to serve the whole city.
Sure, I'd love to hear from Google what their plans are.
Good evening. My name is Jess George. I lead government and community affairs for Google Fiber here in the East. I'm happy to field any questions you have.
John, you want to repeat your question?
Sure. So tell me about the rollout plan for the city of Dunwoody. Is it going to be there? I guess, is it based on trunk lines? Is it based on where your infrastructure is? Is the infrastructure going to be throughout the entire city of Dunwoody? Will it only be in certain profitable pockets of the city? Will it go to all aspects of the city?
Great question. So primarily Google Fiber, our construction build out is engineering led. So the first thing that we do is we get a franchise agreement in place before we do our high level designs and our next level designs. A few of the things that we'll take into consideration is certainly where our huts are, where our backbone already exists, and we build off of that as makes sense. So we really want to have a thoughtful process. We really don't redline. We don't believe in the Swiss cheese model where we only serve places and then have big holes in them. But I want to say we also really collaborate with city staff. So if there's a neighborhood that just had a major infrastructure upbuild, construction fatigue is real. And we honor that. We want to make sure that we would appropriately stagger our construction models to make sure that we weren't overburdening a certain community that already been through, say, a road resurfacing project or a water upfit, et cetera.
Right, we just get complaints from residents that I can't get this service at my house. I'm too far away from a trunk line. And they've been in business for, 30 years. My neighbor down the street gets great service and I get dial up.
Right.
What are you gonna do about it?
Right. Our goal really is to build as much of Dunwoody as we possibly can. We can't promise 100% because obviously infrastructure prevents it, and we want to work with the city to make sure we're good partners. So I will say that our product line and our history shows that we really want to build the entirety of a whole community.
And then as far as new development, there's gonna be very few, if any, new subdivisions here in the city of Dunwoody. That being said, there might be a new apartment complex. There might be something like that. Is there a way in which you and the other franchisees, how do you put your infrastructure in place or get it ready for something like that?
G-Fiber, we're a big proponent of dig once. We really believe if we can joint trench with somebody else, that is the best, fastest, and least disruptive way for us to construct our network. Also, when it comes to apartment buildings, we always make sure that we are in the ground floor, so we're not having to go into someone's apartment years later to try to upfit an older building, but we do that too. But our goal really is on greenfields, new buildings, we're in at the beginning.
Great, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
John, Mayor,
Yes.
one thing that might be helpful, Michael, can you address the issue of exclusivity or non-exclusivity?
Yes, the agreement is non-exclusive, which, I mean, you could probably explain better than I can, but it basically that means that Google's not the only one that can provide the service.
They're not being given a minority, so a monopoly, excuse me,
yeah.
not a minority, a monopoly, so others can compete.
Okay. Anybody else have questions?
Move to approve.
Moved by
Second.
Tom, second by John. All right, any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. That passes unanimously. Michael, you'll make sure that they hire the people they need to hire. Okay, thank you. Rachel?
Item number 17 is adoption of Homecoming Park Master Plan reflecting sand volleyball. Rachel Waldron.
Good evening. Yes, so we're here tonight to discuss the adoption or readoption, if you will, for Homecoming Park with specific focus on amenity 8, which would be sand volleyball in place of pickleball courts. So just a brief summary. I know we've talked about this a lot. We've worked through the master planning process for some years now. The master plan as it is now showing pickleball was adopted in April of 2023. Last fall, as you saw at one of the previous council meetings, there was a great community outreach for sand volleyball. This is not something we currently offer through our Parks Department. Pickleball is at several parks, Prenosha Park, Wynwood Hollow Park, Waterford, and it is currently shown in the Wildcat Park Master Plan. Beach volleyball is something, as you heard from several of our high schoolers, they're very excited about. Again, it's something that would be low maintenance, very quiet, which really fits the model at Homecoming for our all-inclusive really a park for everybody, much more passive than what you would see at some of our other parks. So this slide shows what it would look like if we added in the pickleball courts. This is highlighted as amenity 8. So just an example photo. And then again, we've got our overall layout of the park. We are currently in conversations with Pond, who has worked through the master planning process with us. They've been very patient with us. They understand what we're going for this park in terms of inclusive playground, kind of all-star playground, if you will. And nature trail, things like that. They've been great partners through this process. Just a simple recommendation. We're here tonight to ask that council re-adopt the Homecoming Park Master Plan to reflect sand volleyball as amenity 8, which would replace pickleball courts. And then allow staff and city management to work through next steps of the park build out in terms of design, permitting, and then formal solicitation for the design. Happy to answer any questions you may have. Excuse me.
Anybody have questions? Joe?
Eric, Rachel, I've been talking about the walking path,
Mhm.
and I'm just gonna mention that here. It doesn't disrupt or delay. As a parallel behind the scenes effort, been talking to the Dunwoody Preservation Trust about, the walking path as is, but adding, a historical reference to, interpretive designs or information signs about, what happened before the European settlers moved here, what the native peoples look like, just sort of like kind of talking about it, tying in, there was Muskogee, there was Creeks and so on and so forth. I don't want to get into the low level how or the what, but it's something that, it's a parallel effort. It doesn't delay, but I'm just kind of letting you all know, I'm kind of working behind the scenes and working with Eric and so on to say, okay, well, we're going to have some kind of natural service walking path, but over in, for example, on Jekyll Island, they've got it's called the Wanderer Trail. And about every 50 feet or so, they have a little sign. It talks about a slave ship that came over from Africa, and they were chained, and they had this little hut. Here's what it looks like. Here's what the chains look like. It's all this stuff you can see and touch plus signage. So anyway, long story short is still kind of keeping that on the backside, kind of working that. And I would like as a minimum is to kind of find out what would be, depending on your proposal cost estimate, right? We've got a total 5 million, right? I may want to ask if we could just see what would it cost just to get the concept of what that would look like, not to build it necessarily, because that could be done volunteers or fundraising and so on, but we do want to have professionals though, because you got to get historical real people in there, So anyway, I'd like to just kind of keep that on the back burner and keeping that moving forward. Could be done later with the park or whatever and so on, but like to see that if we got a few extra bucks left over to kind of help with that concept design in the plan. So thanks.
Thanks, Joe. Anybody else? Rob?
So not really a question, but I made a concerted effort to try to talk to people in my district over the last couple months. And so I thought I would just share some of the feedback I got when I asked about this exact item at Homecoming Park. So feedback I got was mixed across, some opposed, some in favor. People that were opposed tended to cite that more people in the community play pickleball, so it might be a better amenity. They shared some concerns about maintenance of the sand, which I think has been brought up ad nauseum at this point. They worried about the shape of the play field with the sand courts in there. It made it kind of an unusual shape. And then a couple people suggested that Pernotial might be a better location. For those that were in favor of it, they liked the idea that it was a new amenity in the city. They liked the idea that it would attract a demographic that does not use the parks very much. And the one to me that resonated the most is that it's a quieter use, better suited for its location in the community and better suited for the playground that's there. So that's just to say, I just wanted to share that since I collected all that. I do think when we talk about that there are pickleball courts elsewhere in the city, there aren't really any dedicated pickleball courts anywhere in the city. The Wildcat Park Master Plan does show 4. So I think that is a very important thing that we will need to make sure is in that park, because there are a lot of pickleball players but there are not a lot of free pickleball spaces or low-cost pickleball spaces available. So anyway, that's my thought. I'm in favor of the sand volleyball. I think the pros outweigh the negatives for switching this. I just want to share that feedback.
Sure do.
And Rachel, when we came back, I'm glad that we had all the folks that were supporting the sand volleyball. I got a little worried though, when they talked about NCAA tournaments. And it sounded like they needed to have 16 volleyball courts and they would have full programming 52 weeks a year. And I know I'm just like, I love just having a place so as you have pickup games and people just have fun with community, so on. So I'm sure you'll figure out a balance of that and how we
Yes.
can work that. Thanks.
Anybody else?
Move to approve.
Moved by Tom, second by Catherine. Any further discussion?
If I can just jump on Joe's comment, another thing with programming is there's limited parking, and
Yeah.
so any activities that go around with the courts, I think, need to take that into account. So anyway.
Realistic expectations. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously, Sharon. All right, we are on to discussion items. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
Michael Smith. Here.
Okay. We've talked about this bridge many times, and since the last time we discussed it, I think I have some good news. When we discussed it last time, we weren't sure that GDOT was going to allow a barrier on the bridge between the path and the road, and I pulled up the image here. We've since worked that out. We can have some type of wall or decorative wall to separate the path from the roadway. So that's been worked out. The other thing, there were some concerns about the cost last time. We've gone back and reviewed that with GDOT, and there is particularly in the painting area, there was a lot of markup and contingency that we've been able to get GDOT to agree to remove. There were some unit costs that have been updated based on more recent information. So before, when we discussed it, the cost estimate was about 2.1 million, and it's down to 1.1 million now. Just to refresh everybody's memory, what that would get us is the railing on the sides of the bridge, the decorative fencing and railing, pedestrian lights on the bridge, a barrier between the path and the roadway, and then pull up the other image here from the view from the interstate. We would have the Dunwoody logo on the pylons on the bridge, and then we'd have the name of the roadway on the bridge, like the ones in Sandy Springs. So if anybody has any questions or comments,
John.
Can you go to that first photo, please? Because you don't have some layouts, I just want to make sure I understand the issue. Zoom in about 200% to that red car to the right over there.
okay.
You got the lane, the lane that goes back between Cotillion and Savoy. Which way are the lanes going on Cotillion and Savoy? Because I think that's a dead end into there. It's going the wrong direction. That black car behind the red.
Yeah, I think that car is facing the wrong way. The loop would be where this image is looking north.
Yeah, I mean, it should be going the other way, right?
Yes.
Okay,
The image is looking north, and the circulation will be south.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you're going towards yes. All right. I just want to make sure that car is going the right way. I don't want any accidents to happen.
Might
And
might be about to get a ticket.
I worked really hard with the commissioner to get some of these. I had a meeting with him about something else, and I pulled out all the stops to ask for this. And if we had a car going the wrong direction, that would be bad.
Well, that being said, I'm very happy with these changes. As far as I'm concerned, a basic bridge form over function. It hits all the things that we want safety related, and we don't need the artistic beauty of an extra $1 million plus. So it's for me, thank you for presenting this to us.
Did GDOT give you any idea on timing?
Where, as far as, well.
Not like when we have to give them money, but like when they're gonna do any, like, I know that's a silly question.
Well, I'll be coming back, hopefully before the end of the year. We're waiting on the intergovernmental agreement that they're working on that will outline this and other agreements as part of the big project. When we get that, I'll ask them. I mean, as far as I know, they're still on the timeline of selecting a developer next year. And then they'll have another year or so, year and a half after that to prepare their plans. I mean, we're still, I'd say at least three years away from construction.
But if we accept this and say this is our 1.1 million, we're locked in with that, right? They can't come back to us when they're finally building it 5 years from now and say, oh, by the way, it's 5 million now.
No, and that's why they do have some contingency in here. And this time we had it all lumped together last time, but it's broken down now in the estimate that's attached. You can see they have some project management cost on their end, and then contingency, and then escalation. So knowing that this won't be built for several years, they're building in that cost increase. And so when we approve the IGA, everything's locked in at that point, as far as what we're going to get and what they're going to do.
Mike, so when the bridge is constructed, will GDOT tie in the pedestrian and bike facilities into our existing facilities on either end of the bridge? Or is that going to be something that the city's going to have to accommodate with, either crosswalks or whatever the most safe and appropriate way to do that?
Yeah, the path on the left side in this image, our path comes down in front of Kroger now and ends at the on-ramp. So, and they will be redoing that intersection a little bit from the standpoint of repaving it, basically. So I think all they'll need to do is reconnect, put the crosswalk in.
Yeah.
And then that'll connect right to the end of the bridge.
Can that be a raised crosswalk?
On the interstate on-ramp or?
Right there at Chamblee Dunwoody, at the pedestrian crossing on Chamblee Dunwoody.
Across Chamblee Dunwoody, or because this is looking north, this would be going
Wait a
across the
minute,
ramp.
just looking.
Going on, you're going on the on-ramp right there.
This is north. Yeah,
Yeah, that's north.
yeah, heading north.
And just one other question on the pedestrian lighting. It looks like on the sidewalk on what would be the eastern side of the bridge, that there shows pedestrian level lighting. It doesn't show on the trail side. Is the overhead lights will that provide sufficient lighting, or do we know?
Kimley Horn's here, Winston, who's been here before, maybe can answer that question. The question is lighting on this side, because it's only showing it on that side.
Yeah, so the simple answer is yes, you'll get the lighting from the vehicular lights, because GDOT didn't want us to remove the lighting that was built into the railing. But you get plenty of light from the overhead lights over the street.
Okay, it's just discussion. Consent? Okay. All right, okay. Yeah, fix the image before the commissioner sees it, please.
What we'll probably, what we can do, because I don't know, I mean, I guess we can vote on this item, or it could just be included in the IGA.
Yeah, just include it in the IGA, so just when you see it again, fix the car.
Right. Okay. The next item is related to this, with all the back and forth with GDOT and the different concepts and renderings. And we've been working on this for several years now. Kimley Horn we've gone past their original contract as far as revisions and updates. And so they've requested up to $20,000 to add to their funding authorization. It's actually a contract through the CID and we're just reimbursing the CID, but because we're over 50,000, we're requesting an additional 20,000 to finish this out. And since y'all have approved the bridge now, there won't be any more after that. That's it. Any more money. All right.
Well, thank you, Michael. Okay, next discussion item is the revision of the Discover Dunwoody agreement. We have Ray, but it looks like Mark will be doing this for us.
Ray Zell is stuck in what's known as this traffic snafu with air right now. So Mark is pinch hitting for him today. Before he starts, I'd like to give a little bit of context in what's happened over the past few months. Is Mark, Ray, myself, and Richard Plato with finance have been working with Discover Dunwoody on revising the MOU between our two organizations because a lot of laws changed. It's become out of date. So we did it as a whole scale rewrite. And some of the main things just to call out to begin with is the law changed the amount of tax distribution, but we never updated the agreement. So that was the primary thing in there. The second thing is looking at the amount of times that they appear before you. And we have settled on the recommendation being twice a year and at request. That kind of works with it. Also looking at another thing, the financial reporting requirements that were in it were somewhat vague. So Richard and I sat down with Ray and came up with the exact statements that we would need that would make it practical. Also, we don't get tax revenue from the hotels till about the 20th of the month. So doing it on a cash basis really didn't make sense. And that's just the high level part. And Mark will take and give some more detail on it.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm just impressed at the work you guys do, by the way. So it was fun to see. I was really hoping we'd have a larger audience tonight. Nobody's really interested in a memo of understanding with Discover Dunwoody, but I'm glad to be here. We appreciate all of your support. This is a quick slide that goes through the changes that we have. First of all, this designates Discover Dunwoody as the official destination marketing organization for Dunwoody. And it'll be effective as of January the 1. Here's a high level pieces of this. The original agreement in 2009 was based on the 5%. We're up to 8% now tax for all the hotels. And we want to make sure that that 8% is broken down correctly. So as you see here on the top right, 3% of the tax will go to the general fund, 1.5% goes to TPD, and 3.5% to TCT. TCT stands for Tourism, Convention, and Trade Shows. And the TPD is Tourism Product Development. These are the two pieces that we're of course most interested in. And it's great that we get some extra money that goes to the general fund for you guys to put to other great things. Some quick clarifications. The CVB board approves our budget. We present that to the city council. And again, we'll meet with you twice a year. We have traditionally brought in and gone over the budget with all of you at the end of the year. Next year, we're also changing the way we're recording our finances. The city has been managing our accounting up until now. Starting next year, we'll have our own accounting firm that will be running our accounting for us. So here's the percentage breakdown of the tax dollars with the non-restricted funds at 37.5%. Tourism Product Development, 18.75, and the TCT, which goes to Discover Dunwoody at 43.75. This is a percentage breakdown of that 8%. A lot of data on this slide, and this is all the work that we do. I'm also thrilled that yes, MJ, don't call him Mike Jackson. He's MJ. We appreciate MJ's here. He does a lot of this work too. The number one thing here is we're most interested in getting people to use our hotels. So we're always interested in driving hotel occupancy. We also coordinate advertising publicity and promotion campaigns to drive people to our hotels, to get people to shop in our shops, to get folks to go to our restaurants. We also maintain exhibit booths. MJ and Treasurer travel constantly to get in front of the meeting planners that are placing programs in Dunwoody, and has been very successful at that. We also print and distribute visitor literature. We participate in tourism agencies and conventions associations. This is also something that Treasurer and MJ will do. As a matter of fact, this week we have PCMA coming in for an interview. So PCMA, which is Professional Convention Management Association, has their executive director coming in, and I'll be interviewing them on the Dunwoody Dialogues. Soliciting convention and meeting organizations fall in that same category. We also provide tourism and event planning services. As a matter of fact, we've had a number of clients come into us recently asking for locations to hold weddings. Maybe they're looking for places to hold a meeting. We will help them find those locations. We also distribute materials that support our hotels and the other areas. So for example, we print materials that promote all the inventory of the hotels and give them to the hotels so they can help cross-sell as well as bring folks in. We also can coordinate with you guys, with the city and local businesses. I know that I talk to Jennifer Betcher all the time to make sure we're in alignment, for example, with Holiday Headquarters. We also strive to provide coordinated and productive visits for anybody that's considering Dunwoody. It's one of our competitive advantages. Our sales team is very engaged with anybody interested in our city, and it does find that we get more business because of that. And then finally, we endeavor to spend time with all of you, especially through individual meetings, often as possible, and of course here. And then finally, for reporting and oversight, the monthly budgeting is due by the 5th of each month. This is based on we're really looking forward to having our accounting group working on this in the future. And we're really pushing them to make sure that we're returning the information to you as soon as possible. There is a lag on when we get the revenue recorded, but that will also be expressed in that reporting. Quarterly budgeting reports, we'll submit them quarterly, of course, to you and to our board. We have an annual audit that's required. We'll conduct that as well once a year. And then, of course, we always have oversight by the city. The city has a right to audit our books at any time, but we are doing that annually as it is. And that is everything for my presentation. Questions about anything?
Mark, thanks for pinch hitting there.
Of course.
And this it's kind of like you kind of step back. We have auditing about processes and so on, but we've got all sorts of little MOUs with other folks and such and so forth as well. So it's always just like great to clean this up because look, I'm full disclosure, this is my 6th year on council. Last year when you guys presented your annual budget, it was the last meeting of December. And then I read that it was supposed to get approved by city council. And if you look at that, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I think you're like 3 months too late.
Right.
If we really had to approve your budget like we approve our budget and the layers of details and granularity we go through. So I get it. It's a division. You guys are your own 501c6 organization. I mean, I've self-learned, over the starting last year, asking for the old MOU and stuff. And I'm like, well, what if we really had to, we're not, right? Well, if we had to approve your budget, we need to get involved and start talking to you in August.
Right.
And so on. So that didn't make sense.
And Joe, the questions that you brought up made us realize we need to update this MOU.
I appreciate it. I mean, it's just housekeeping in general. So,
sure.
And really, it is a mutual agreement between two separate entities. And so here you go. This is the firewall, and these are how we interact. So I appreciate the cleanup, and yeah, let's just keep on. And oh, by the way, just because small little simple little things, not related to the agenda, but it is tourism and economic development. EV charging stations. I'll tell you what, I just bought an EV, and I was so naive. I drove with my wife to Blue Ridge, and I had 80 miles left on a charge, and they didn't have a single damn EV charger in downtown Blue Ridge. And we got plenty of them here in Dunwoody. So
do.
I made her just stay in Dunwoody because there's plenty of EV chargers and it's welcoming for that. So just a little side note there. It's all these little things add up. Thank
Well
you.
put.
Thank you, Stacy.
This is great. This is fine. I got the Holiday HQ mailer in my mailbox. Was that you guys or was that you and Jennifer?
So this was there was actually 3 organizations involved. It was us, it was the
Great.
city, and it was Create Dunwoody. The design was done by Jennifer and Kathy.
Well, kudos to all of you because it looked great and I think it's a great campaign and just good job.
Thank you.
And good job, Jennifer and Kathy.
Anybody else? So this is are you going to be bringing us the new, wait, hold on.
We're asking consent at your next meeting.
Yes, consent. Consent. Okay, thank you. Next up is Tiffany. I talked to. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
They don't need to read it.
No,
first?
this is
Okay.
the discussion. Sorry.
Okay.
This is
alright.
discussion.
Okay. All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. In April, City Council approved the project framework agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation to receive $600,000 of federal funding for preliminary engineering for the Winners Chapel Path Phase 2 project, which is between Charmont Place and Peeler Road. The city has secured an additional federal grant of $150,000 of federal dollars from the Atlanta Regional Commission Transportation Alternatives Program for preliminary engineering. The city has already satisfied the local match requirement for the additional funds. The federal funding is managed by GDOT and requires an approval and execution of the supplemental agreement to the PFA. For this project, the concept report is just like a project update. The concept report has been approved by GDOT and we are now in preliminary design. We will be hosting a public meeting in February of 2026. We're working on that coordination. And construction is still planned for 2028. Thank you.
All right, questions?
I'll just
go
comment,
ahead.
and I'm happy to see we got some more grant money. That's nice.
Anybody else? So, Eric, next year, at some point, I think we ought to talk about, like, in lessons learned with projects that, I know that federal grants slow you down and also federal grants are invaluable, but maybe we need to look at what we spend, what we ask for federal grants on in terms of being able to complete a project versus what we use SPOS dollars on that we control totally. So it's just something to think about. I got an earful from someone today and and they're excited about it, but they feel like it's, this piecemeal thing. So anyway, that's something to think about. Okay, thank you. Next, go ahead. We are on it. Just flow right in.
All right, so for the Happy Hollow sidewalk, the plans have been completed to a level of detail that is necessary to start right-of-way and easements for the project, it's completed to a level of detail that the necessary right-of-way and easements for the project have been identified. Narrow strips of right-of-way will be needed for the sidewalk along the frontage of 4 parcels, and temporary construction easements will be required from 28 parcels along this 0.7 mile project from Peeler Road to Kingsland Court. The city has requested informal written quotes from 3 engineering consultants that are qualified to perform right-of-way acquisition services. The $122,500 fee was submitted by Croy Engineering to complete the right-of-way acquisition services.
And we have available funding within the SPOS budget to cover this. Let's see. Additionally, it was the lowest submitted fee for this based off of negotiated rates from the Perimeter Community Improvement District on-call contract. Right-of-way acquisition services includes property owner negotiation and property appraisals. The cost for acquisition services has significantly increased over the last couple years. Therefore, this is the first time we've actually brought a contract like this to y'all to approve. So I just wanted to point that out. For this project, construction is planned to start at the end of 2026 so that improvements can be completed ahead of the paving that's planned for 2027. Thank you.
Okay, anybody have any questions on this? Consent? Consent. All right. We're good.
Next item.
Right.
Okay, so for the Mount Vernon Path Phase 2, same thing. The design plans have been completed to a level of detail, but the right-of-way and easements necessary to construct the project have been identified. Strips of right-of-way will be needed along the frontage of 7 parcels, and temporary construction easements will be required from 24 parcels along the half-mile-long project, which runs from Mount Vernon Place to Vermac Road. Same thing, we requested the informal quotes from 3 engineering consultants who were qualified to perform right-of-way acquisition services. The fee submitted was $99,900 from Croy Engineering to complete these right-of-way acquisition services, and we have the funding in the SPLOS capital budget. Croy was the lowest fee submitted based off the PCID on-call rates. And the same thing is, you know, the acquisition services have gone up. So you're seeing another one of these contracts before you. This project is in the design phase where we are preparing to start utility coordination. The project will be fully funded for construction in 2029. Thank you.
Somebody say it. Any questions, discussion? Consent. Stacy said consent. Is that okay? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I want to apologize in advance when I pulled up the agenda. The correct MOU is in there. However, the incorrect memorandum was uploaded. I am not in a hurry on this MOU. This is just to share cameras with the Georgia State University Police. So I would request that I can upload it onto the next council's agenda. So the appropriate memorandum will go out to the public and of course to all of you.
As discussion. Yeah, well, no, still haven't ever talked about this one. We'll see it as, you want to just for a business item? Next, when you're ready, put it, because there's nothing to vote on, so you can put it back whenever you're ready.
Yes, ma'am.
But put it as a business item.
Business item.
Okay.
Do that.
Thank you. All right, no. All right, public comments. We'll have 3 minutes if anyone would like to approach the microphone. Seeing no public comment, city manager comments.
No additional comments, Mayor. We do not need an executive session.
Okay. Tomorrow is Veterans Day, and we want to thank everyone for their service. And we encourage everyone to join us at Brick Run at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Dress warmly. We're going to have a slightly shortened Memorial Day ceremony because it's going to be 35 degrees. And then we're going to open our new memorial, our new Veterans Memorial, which we're very excited about. We'll sort of do the official opening. So we understand if people can't make it because of the weather, but we hope to see some folks there. Some of it will be there. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to point out that one of our 2 scouts that came is still at this meeting and stayed the whole time. So thumbs
Mr.
up. Thank you.
Persky, you want to quickly introduce yourself and say what troop you're with? Thank you for being here, and thanks the scouts for everything they do. All right. Anybody else? I need a motion to adjourn. Oh, we did count. Thing. Yes, I said it. I said it.
Mayor, can I say one thing real quick?
Yes.
On behalf of your police chief and your city attorney and others in your community that were United States Marines, I want to point out today is the 250th birthday of the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And they are on the float far and near, and God bless them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Semper Fi, yes. All right, thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Stacy, second by Rob. I didn't see. All in favor, say aye. I thought it was.